Newcastle vs Spurs this Saturday. Today is to conquer. Who will come out on top this Saturday, folks? We're gonna talk about it today with our special guests right here on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Sham. And now Murphy could take on the shot. Fabian Sham.
Right, good evening, everyone. I hope you are all well, and I hope you have had a flying start to 2025. No matter what your team is doing, you should still be having a good time. Whether your team is winning or it's losing, you should be having a great time. I hope, God willing. We have some great guests on today. One of them is running a little bit late, but it's all good. So I get to have real insights, expert insights from a couple of our Toon supporters, Tottenham supporters here today. The gentleman I'm going to introduce you to right now, Harry Scarf, is an incredible content creator. And in fact, one of the first times I first started doing content creating, he was one of the first people that really kind of reached out to me of that particular, that incredible channel size that he has, and really introduced me to a lot of people. So I owe him a lot of credit to him. His channels, his content, the work he does around mental health, autism awareness, everything else is exemplary. So I'm really, as well as being an incredible fan and content creator, I'm really looking forward to having them here today. So without further ado, allow me to introduce Harry Scarf. Harry, how you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. It's a really nice intro. It's so kind of you, and I'm honoured to be here this evening. Really looking forward to getting into it.
Well, it's a blessing to have you on. I know I haven't got you on for too long, but
no rush.
The quality, it's all about the quality. It's not always about the quantity, isn't it? So really really grateful to have you on. Hope you've had a good day and a good evening, sir.
Yes, I have. Thank you. Have you?
Very good. Busy at my home. I was getting things arranged. Yeah, a couple of last minute things here and there. You wouldn't believe it, but there was a whole lot of people in my house earlier on. But here, we're good. But so I got everything done in the last minute. But I wanna obviously before I get into all the kind of the inside parts of everything around teams, I usually like to kind of for the audience, especially, to kind of get a gist of the feeling of when I'm talking about Newcastle, but also the opposition's feeling of, how they're going into the game now and what they're kind of going through themselves. So in terms of Tottenham, so that people get kind of an idea of what's happening for Tottenham and for the opposition as well. Harry, for you, when you're looking at Tottenham going into this game, what's the feeling around Tottenham? What's the situation? What's going on? What's the climate?
Yeah, not very good at the moment. I think the table speaks for itself in that bottom half. So yeah, not very good at the moment from a Spurs point of view. I think that it has mainly been down to injuries. I hate to use it as an excuse, but I think we play a certain way under Ange Postecoglou that requires players, to be fit and at their absolute best. It requires that high level constantly, if you like, just the way that he plays. And, some of it is down to him, though, with the injuries, for example, and also the suspensions, because you've got a discipline issue, but the injuries, a big part is the high line that, for me, just causes all these injuries. So, yeah, no, it hasn't been good, but I think, there's no need to panic because, 2 or 3 wins away from being in that top 6 conversation. He's really congested. We're only halfway through the season, and the saving graces are in all competitions, and we've got both centre-backs coming back very soon, as early as a North London derby. That's the aim. So no need to panic. Performances are good. I think in certain ways, I think we proved that we can score goals. 3 goals against Liverpool, the only side to do that this year. 4 goals against, for example, Man City, their own backyard. 3 goals against Chelsea. So even, results that aren't going our way because defensively we conceded lots of goals. we are still looking really good and bright going forward. But generally, climax and the feeling around Tottenham isn't too good at the moment. But I think should be a lot of understanding from fans that there's a lot of players out, in particular in defensive positions, and that's why we're really struggling at the moment. We've got a manager that doesn't flex. I like him, but doesn't flex his system, and that never bodes well with injuries.
And in terms of the confidence and the fan base, you speak to a number of different fans. I really, maybe because I hang, I'm on the Spurs Kings rival show, but I do listen to a lot of Tottenham content. Just obviously, if you want to be any good at content creating, it's useful to listen to other people that are doing stuff. And so you guys produce good content. And there's when you're saying like feeling calm and being measured, are you kind of sensing within the fan base that there aren't so many people that are feeling calm and measured? And could that have a ripple effect, or is that having a ripple effect on the team, do you sense?
Yeah, it certainly can. And it can have an effect on the board and the hierarchy, to be totally honest with you, because when fans, when they uneasy, I suppose, at rest, that they can cause problems. It's as simple as that. And little things like with the protest against the ownership, I think that Daniel Levy, the chairman, might view that and go, the fans aren't happy with how things are going, and that's a trigger and chain reaction often to sacking a manager. So yeah, absolutely, you can have that ripple kind of domino effect, absolutely. But I think hopefully, generally, people look at Ange Postecoglou and are still behind him, because I think for me, the manager is not the problem at Tottenham. I think the problems do lie deeper. I don't see the need to appoint a sixth manager in 6 years. I think it tells you everything you need to know. When Ange Postecoglou last season was the first Spurs manager to complete a full season in the new stadium, and since 2018-19 season, that's all you need to know. We don't even give managers a season, so I wouldn't rush into a decision about Postecoglou. I'd give him the January transfer window, let's fall back in, because the reality is last summer window we done really well shifting players out the door, really well. Got rid of Deadwood, if you like, etc. Done really well. Brought the wage bill down and also recruited well. Brought in Gray, Solanke, who I've been both really impressed with. They've done well. We didn't go that extra mile. We didn't bring in that experience, that depth, that cover. And we're playing in the Europa League this year. You will know we're playing in Champions League last year. I think it's a similar problem that affected you. You have to plan and prepare for it. And the reality is we have a thinner squad than last season, where we didn't have Europe. So that's crazy and poor planning from those higher up in the club, the hierarchy, the board, etc.
Harry,
in with recruitment.
Can I interject on that point in terms of the poor planning? Tottenham, up until the last maybe a couple of years, have been Champions League regulars, like 8-9 times in a row, really. Is it a bit surprising to you, or it's surprising to me that Tottenham will be unprepared for it, because it was our first time for the last 20 years. So I kind of have a lot more grace for, in terms of what's happened. But for you guys, it was like, 8th or 9th time in a row. I mean, why do you think that is? What's caused that kind of unpreparedness, if I can say that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And it's concerning. And I think it's for me, the way I view it at the moment is I think it's the board and the hierarchy's, vision to make Tottenham a massive brand, and maybe some would say take the identity away. I think the idea behind it is wage bill, boom, reduce it, and I think that feels like a massive reward, a sense of accomplishment for them. Whereas us fans, we look at the window and go, we lost experience, we've lost cover. Where's the benefit for us? Okay, we've recruited well, great. We haven't gone that extra mile, and that's the thing. The new stadium at the moment, as lovely and as shiny as it is, for neutrals, for Spurs fans, for travelling fans, Newcastle, for example, on Saturday. The frustrating thing is it isn't a fortress at the moment. Our home record's a lot worse than our away record, and it just feels like you've got this lovely new mansion, but it hasn't got the furniture in it, and it hasn't got someone willing to spend time on it.
I love that analogy.
That's how I view it. It's like it's been left and it's going to become dusty and it's going to become, unwanted, if you like. That's the way I view it. So it's frustrating for sure. And I've been quite neutral on my stance with the ownership, to be honest with you, altogether in recent years. But where I stand at the moment is that I think they have blood on their hands based on the summer window and what they've given Ange Postecoglou. Because as you said, there's no real excuse not to plan. We've been in Europe, you shouldn't be going into the season with one left back. It's as simple as that, and one defensive midfielder. That's bad planning.
Wow. So there's a lot going on, to say the least, or whatnot. I'll read some of the comments maybe for yourself too. Maybe I think there might be a couple for yourself. Liam
Absolutely.
knows. Evening, Liam. Hope you are well. Hope you're having a blessed evening. Evening, gents. Feels like a wild game incoming. It usually is of Tottenham and Newcastle.
It usually is indeed.
It's like it's never just a boring 1-0. It's like there has to be fire and brimstone. We can control midfield, but both teams' attack can hurt each other. Yeah, each other's exactly. We can centre back pairings. I think Tonali and Bruno can be the difference. Obviously, as for Newcastle, and might be skipping a little bit ahead because there's a question before I want to that. But if there are difference makers for yourself, Harry, in terms of Tottenham, in who would you kind of see as a different main? Who's been your difference makers this season? Shall I say? What's a better way of framing it for this season so far?
Yeah, it'd be Kulusevski for me, to be honest with you, because even when we've struggled, he's been the shining light through a very dark tunnel at times, to be totally honest with you. And he just seems to find a way, even when the team's struggling, like against Liverpool, 5-1 down. He's the one trying. He's the one showing the leadership on the pitch. That's why I'm desperate for me. I see a captain in there, definitely, if it's not now, in the long term, when Sonny says enough is enough and hangs up his boots, for sure. Because that's one thing we lack. I talked about like an experience, we also lack leadership because we don't have, for me, that experience. But Kulusevski, young talent, has just done really well. But that Liverpool game, he drove us back into it. He gave us, a chance. We didn't get anything out of it, but we got 3 goals in the end. We got 2 back to make it interesting. It was the defence that was let down. And the comment below that, 12 goals conceded in 5 games. That's really poor. That's what you associate with Southampton, Leicester. And it is really poor. And we've lost as many games as them as well, as many games as Ipswich, as Leicester and Southampton. So that is obviously worrying. For sure, but no, it's a good question, and it's always hard. But yeah, we're not in a good position at the moment. But I don't think there's any need to panic. If you see what I mean.
No, I do, and I did see the Liverpool game. I saw the Man United game as well, and I do agree with the Kulu, because you can have players that can have all the swagger and skill, but lack the heart, if I can say that. And Kulu certainly isn't that guy. He certainly has a lot of heart. And, you were up against it against Liverpool, and he never stopped running. He never shirked from responsibility. He's the one that, every time he got on the ball, he made sure that Liverpool had to stay honest, essentially. And so that's definitely a positive, I think, as well. Yeah, with the 12 goals conceded, and you touched upon it there, we've also got a comment here from Liam. Spurs to be respected, but 12 goals conceded is wild. In your opinion, how much of that is coming down to tactics? How much of that coming down to injuries? Maybe confidence, or maybe a little bit of all of those things. What's it for you, in your opinion, if you were able to put your finger on one point or more?
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a combination of both. And I'm one of those fans that I really, really hate to make excuses. And I hate it. I think you should focus on yourself, how to improve. And I hate it when fans, and all clubs do it, but we're talking within the Spurs fan base here, my fan base. When they blame the officials or injuries for the struggles. But I feel this is a situation where maybe injuries is a little bit of a factor, because the whole back line has gone at the moment, bar Porro, which is a shame. And I know that Ange's system, you need like Van der Ven's pace, you need the quality of Romero, and just like having Archie Gray at the back, which is partly Ange's choice. He has the youth academy there, so I don't have that much sympathy in that respect. So a lot of it is, of course, on the high line, as I said, with the injuries. I think it makes it a lot worse. It's a lot of, it's a burden on the hamstring. If you look at Postecoglou's managerial career, there was a mini hamstring crisis at Celtic, not as big as we're seeing now, but it was. Okay. And Doggy, we're hearing, he's out for 8 weeks, hamstring injury. Van der Ven, hamstring injury. Davies was a hamstring injury, I believe. Or around that area. So, a lot of it is on that high line. But at the same time, this is, if the board believe in Ange, and that's what you've got to do in January. You've got to fully back him, and I don't think that will happen. But that's what you've got to do. So it's a combination of both, I think, or different factors, all of the above, if you like, to answer your question. It's frustrating for sure, but also I think a large part of it does come down to, again, I don't have to say it, but the medical team. I feel like players have been rushed back. Romero and Van der Ven both come back weeks before they were expected for that Chelsea game, and both went off injured, and are now and haven't come back since. Weeks later, so they were both rushed back. That Davis was apparently rushed back into training, has now faced a setback of up to 2-3 weeks. So it's really frustrating. I'd rather these players take longer, but are wrapped in cotton wool, looked after, and they're not at the moment. But the killer for me this season is 2 games a week. I just feel like we're at the moment feel like a mid-table club that just can't cope with those 2 games a week. I don't have to say it, but that's how it is for me, and it's a combination of factors why we are struggling. And I do like this manager, but the reality is when you're dying your hill, kind of, I'm dying by these tactics, because you can have your philosophy, but you can flex it. Whereas he has this view that if we shut up shop or we don't invert the fullbacks, because that's another thing, right? Against Newcastle, Spencer probably play left back. We have an 18-year-old midfielder, Archie Gray, centre back. Dracasin, not very confident at the moment at centre back. You flex the system, I think, a little bit. Maybe you don't invert the fullbacks, you drop back a little bit, but the high line's as high as ever. So he just has responsibility to take, and he's got the youth academy there. He's meant to be trusting young players. We've got even like the goalkeepers, young goalkeepers sitting there that for me, and defenders and all round in that team deserve an opportunity. When else are they going to get it? And when you have an injury crisis, surely it's the opportunity.
No, I absolutely agree. And the next comment kind of leads me to a different segue. I wanted to ask you, because I have asked different Tottenham fans about this, because this is a question from an outsider's perspective, which is, so the comments from Liam Knowles is took it off there. Love Kulu gives a damn vibes with his swagger. Speaking of swagger, the Tottenham that I know from the outsider's perspective was under Pochettino. For me, that's the Tottenham that I felt. I don't know if you remember, there was a time when, I mean, your game style, high pressing, intensity, but quality all over the pitch, like incredible. Dembele, Wanyama, your two centre backs whose names I can never pronounce. I know one of them's called Toby, but just Harry Kane, Son, and it was just on and on. And there was that. I don't know if you remember. There was a point where it was between you and Liverpool, almost like who's going to take the crown here for the Premier League, who's going to take England forward, almost like in terms of representative in Europe, and in like you guys were on that precipice, in my opinion. Maybe as a Tottenham fan from the inside out, it might be different, but from the outside looking in, looking at your football, looking at what you were doing, I was like, wow, like this is, it just need a few adjustments here and there, and it's just it's going to go bang. My question is, I've heard a lot of Tottenham fans talking about the high line, and I understand it. There's been some questions, maybe for instance the Chelsea result last year. You got the situation going on now. I'm almost like, but don't you guys recognize this? Like I thought this is like you'd recognize this high line. I know you've had Conte, you've had really kind of reserved coaches, Marino, Nunes. Why? Like, have you? It's like where I think they took you away from your identity, in my opinion. Like, I know it's not a nice thing to have, when when the line gets broken, when you get bad results. But I guess the question is, like, I thought it would be more. There's a word tolerable, but it's not tolerable. It's like I thought you'd recognize this. Is what I'm saying as a Tottenham fan. Like, you'd be more maybe embracing of it, if that makes all of its goods and bads and imperfections type of thing. If I'm making sense, and this is what I'm trying to pose a question to you, which is, you got high and you have high intensity football, but do you still are you still sold on that dream? Do you still see the same old Tottenham, or you kind of not really? You're a bit more reserved about it, a bit more different about it.
That's a good question. But what I'll say about the fans is that they're all like, rebuild. But when we are in this rebuild and times are tough and there's bumps in the road and results don't go your way, they're very, very quick to turn on the manager and the whole rebuild and throw their toys at the pram. This is a very different Tottenham side. I don't associate this team with anything of the past or the prime days, as I like to call them, really good days under Pochettino. This just feels like one step further in terms of braveness and boldness. I've never quite, in football, apart from maybe Bielsa, seen anything quite like it, where your highlights on the halfway line, your fullbacks are higher than your wingers and in midfield, and getting the way you striker. It is entertaining.
It's extreme. Like, you feel like extreme. Like, it's more. Do you think it's even more extreme than the Pochettino one? It's like,
I would say so. Yeah, because Pochettino, there'd be times where, like, be Man City, he'd get behind the ball and it counterattacks. You realise, you accept. But for me, Ange, in these bigger games, I just feel it's more bolder than ever. And I've never seen him change, flex the system. It's just, really, really, extremely bold. But I think that's the way he is. That's why he's here. That's what it's got to be. And I just think when the manager, you can't have this in between, which the board like to do, whereas you have a manager, you don't back them, you see how it goes. If you're having someone like Ange Postecoglou in his bold system, then you back it, or you go with someone else. I don't want the board to do, and I've got a feeling that they will, is that we get to that North London derby, result doesn't go our way, we get towards the end of January. They bring a new manager in. They sack Ange and bring a new manager in. And that manager has to put up whatever signings have been bought for Ange and his system, probably not happy with them, and won't get a say in the window. I can just see how it's going. And this is, kind of Levy's time of year to, Levy's time of year to sack a manager. So hopefully he does bear with Postecoglou. But this is a very unique system. But also fans have a lot to answer for, because I think, a little bit of entitlement, and the fans don't like it when I brought up in the past, but the Spurs fans seems to have this thing in their head where we have to play a certain way, we have to win a certain way, but the reality is we haven't won a major trophy since 2008. I don't care if we have 10% of the ball, 95% of the ball, 800 shots, which it feels like we do in some games, or no, it's the results, and that's what Ange Postecoglou will be judged on. And that's what he was saying the job for. That's what the players will be judged on. You don't look back, do you, in a season, as well, look at it 2 or 3 years ago and go, we played really well in that game, but we lost. You look at the result, you go, that's great, that wasn't good. That's just reality, rightly or wrongly. That's what football is. It's a results-based business, not performance-based, not XG-based, not stat-based. And fans just have this, you've got to play the Tottenham way. You can't win that with that. Fans, honestly, I'm not joking. Even if we won a trophy, we wouldn't have put up with it under Mourinho and Conte. Even though we haven't won a major trophy, I mean, I'm saying this on Newcastle channels, but even longer for you guys.
No, that's You're not going to get any banter back like, we've got at least we got to.
I just remember that, actually. It's been a while. Might be sick for you guys, the way you're playing.
Yeah, God willing. Well, I've got probably a final question for you before you're off, and obviously more directly towards the game itself. And I've put up the form for both of our teams. Obviously, Tottenham. Obviously, you drew 2-2 against West Ham. So in the last 5 games, you've drawn 1, you've lost 2. And you've won 2. Obviously, one of them was the League Cup game. Unbelievable League Cup game against Manchester. I have to say, Harry, I said this to Ash and I said this to other Tottenham fans. You guys went, I think, 3-0 up, right? And then when apologies, I feel like I'm delaying, but like you went up, and then I almost switched off because I thought, this is rampant. You're gonna go through, and then obviously you know what happened afterwards. Like, it was just Man United got it. I had to say to Ash and to the others, and I wasn't bantering, I meant it very sincerely. I was very worried for Tottenham fans. Like, if I was emotionally, psychologically, mentally, everything, because that would have, everything that's on top of that, what you guys get in terms of being, called Spursy, being called this and that, this would have just like, it would have just, I would almost said that the season's like done, like it's over now. What was your kind of feeling with that? I mean,
I was at the game, and do you know what? It's one thing I will say, and
Oh,
and
you was
jokes
there.
about
You
it.
was there.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
there.
okay.
Yeah. See, I'm a season ticket holder,
Okay.
but which is obviously interesting. You get to see the bumps in the road in person and the crazy
Exactly.
performances. But one thing with Spurs is proper, games for the neutral again this year, like with last year, and fans don't like it when it's brought up. But we are interesting to watch. We're not saying that matters at all, but it's for the neutral game. It's entertaining. I come out of a Spurs game absolutely shattered. I feel like I've been on the pitch and I've done absolutely nothing. But it just there's so many goals. It's just so many heart in mouth moments with your high line or just about play them offside. And even now, we have a midfielder in that back line at 18 years old. Where Spence playing out of position. Where Fraser Forster or the Oak Tree, if you like, in goal, and we'll still be playing high line and trying to play people offside. We try and play Isaac offside, and we give him
Oh
space.
yeah. I hope you do that for this game.
Oh no, right? Don't get me started. But crazy game.
Incredible game, folks. I've got other guests coming on right now. You would have, I think it's been on our show before. Yes, towards the early days. And I always said to you guys, when you guys see me do the tactics board, you see me do the player profiles. This gentleman is the godfather of it for me, anyway. And so I take kind of give him huge credit for that. Incredible again creator. You guys that have seen me on the Rival show with him and Marlon, who have been very generous in inviting me on the show. And I want to welcome Ash. How you doing, sir?
Gentlemen, big yourselves up, man. Each and every time, big up the chat as well. People watching later back, if they're listening in their commute, big up everyone.
That's right.
Merry New Year. Listen, I've just come from World War III. It's crazy out here. This first thing, I'm telling you, the fan base is so divided, but it's very entertaining. So sometimes you take a step back and watch the world implode. Like Joker, he just lacks the anarchy sometimes. He just sits back.
100%.
Obviously, it's not nice because it's my club and it's at our cost, but sometimes you just have to have another hobby, you know what I mean? Just to keep,
100%.
Some star, just keep that level ahead, yin and yang, all of that malarkey, yeah. But yeah, man, I'm here. We move, man. And obviously, we're talking all things Spurs and Newcastle, I hope.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I'm going to actually play back that show because it's got all my favorite Tottenham Hotspur creators there. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one. We was just I'm going to go through the comments, but I'm going to go back to I was just talking to Harry about obviously the form of the teams, but come going into this game. But I'll go through the comments and we'll go back into it. We've got one from Consistent Mag FC. Good to see you again, sir. One of our regulars. God bless. Hope Spurs can do a upset against Liverpool in the semis. That would be huge over 2 games. Imagine the Tottenham Hotspur's Newcastle Cup final. It'll be labeled the trophyless. Whose O will go essentially like. Aaron Cave, good to see you again, sir. If Spurs play with a high line, Murphy, Gordon, Isak, oh goodness gracious, are going to be having a field day, not to mention Joe Linton. I remember I said Joe Linton a long time ago on Spurs Rivals and you guys laughed at me. You're not laughing now, are you?
He's a menace.
He's an absolute menace. Liam knows, Harry. Okay, so question for Harry. Harry, is Maddison the man or does he flatter? We wanted him, we did, but always unsure whether he's the man to drag the team through. What's your opinions on Maddison? And Ash, obviously, do add your 2 pence worth there as well, please.
Yeah, it's interesting that Liam brings it up. That's a really topic at the moment, I suppose, among Spurs fans. Something that's currently doing the rounds. With James Maddison, I think the ability is clear to see. I think there's a top player there, and he obviously isn't in the team at the moment. I think that's a real shame. I think the team will do better with him in the team. But the reality is, Maddison's all the big talk, but doesn't follow it up on the pitch for me anyway on a consistent basis. He has a really good day, but also has bad days. Everyone's entitled to a bad day, but it feels like Maddison only shows up half the time. And we have that with a lot of Spurs players in the system. A lot of people will point to Basuma and say the same thing, for example, this season. And the reality is, Ange Ball, if you like, Ange's system needs players 100% every game because of the way we play. We need everyone at 100%. And that's, as I was saying to you earlier, with 2 games a week, that makes it a lot harder. But yeah, Maddison needs to do better. He's one of the senior established players with huge ability. When you're going through an injury crisis, you need your senior players to step up. And that's why huge credit to the likes of Solanke, Kulusevski and Gray that have really stepped up when the team are needing them most. But players like Maddison have been disappointed in. But at the same time, I'm surprised maybe he didn't get more minutes. I look at Maddison now. Well, I look at Son at the moment, and he's really struggling for form. And go, Maddison, can we play him on that left-hand side? But it would involve Ange being a little bit more flexible and making sure saying the wingers aren't as wide, for example, because they literally hug the touchline, and they're so far hugging the touchline that, like with Werner, when he comes on, the ball goes out of play because they proper play to the lines. Might speak out of that, but that's what happens anyway. But Maddison, it's a frustrating situation, but we need to find a way to get the best out of him, and with the likes of Son.
That's really comprehensive there. Ash, I don't know, what's your thoughts on Maddison?
Maddison, the enigma, the biggest talking point at the moment. What a debate. Like, is he a victim of Ange Ball? Is he a victim of the system? Is he an Ange type player? Does other players suit his system a little bit more? Now, what do I mean by that? Can I get into more depth about that question? So for me, the reason why Kulusevski is probably getting all the headlines at the moment is, for some people, they're more let's face it, football's down to opinion. And do you prefer Kulusevski aesthetically in terms of what he does on the ball compared to what Maddison does? Now, that depends on what school of thought you come from in terms of football. Now, Maddison compared to Kulu's more of a ball carrier. Do you know what I mean? When Kulu gets on that ball, he drives the ball, he drives up the pitch, he drives in the half spaces, he drives out wide, he rotates often with either the winger or the fullback, but he likes to cut onto his left side with his left foot, and he sometimes find them all over the attacking third. So when you see a player driving into the box and they're actually contributing, they might be the pass before the pass, key passes, assisting, you know what I mean? You start to look at Kulu. Wow, what a player compared to what he was, or what people thought he was as a wide player or a right winger. Remember, we had a conversation a long time. You're like, you think he work at Newcastle? And I was like, that's an interesting question. He's quite dynamic. He's agile. He's got the width. He's quite a broad player, so he's got a bit of physicality. Now, I think the reason why Maddison's been sacrificed so much is because Maddison, yes, he is a good player where he can drop a shoulder, he can get on a half turn. He's a technical player. Some people might, liken it a bit to Bruno Fernandes, where he is everywhere on the pitch. He's a dictator at times. He wants to collect the ball. He wants to be on the ball all the time. The only thing with Maddison is when it comes to ball carrying, he's not as explosive as a Kulusevski. And I think that's why he's not getting so many plaudits. And also, when he does get the ball, he doesn't ride challenges. He doesn't override players when he's trying to carry that ball high up the pitch. And I think that's why Kulu gets noticed more than what maybe a Maddison does. Maddison, more technical on the ball. He likes to pass around the player, use the outside of his boot, do short to medium passes. And that's why you might see him playing up, draw in a left-back position, centre mid position, or sometimes he might appear on the right. So he's trying to get on the ball as much as possible, whereas Kulu will want to get that ball, and his first thought is, can I drive forward? Can I hurt the team? Whereas Maddison wants to pass from deep, from in between the lines, where most fans want him in that attacking 10 role permanently. They don't want him to see him further back and dictate from deep. They want him high up the pitch, shooting from outside the box. Unfortunately, Maddison hasn't been as deadly as we know he can. We've seen it at Leicester where he shoots outside the box and he's a killer. Deadly, do you know what I mean? Yeah. We haven't quite seen the heights of that from Maddison. And I think it's the expectation of what we know Maddison can deliver compared to what he's actually doing. Now, if you actually be a stat padder and you look at the actual numbers, then you would say, actually, Maddison scored more goals in the Premier League than Kulusevski. Do you know what I mean? Or In fact, in terms of goal contributions, he's got more than Kulusevski. And a lot of the time, Ange sacrifices Maddison in the midfield before the game's up. So we might have 20 minutes to go, we might have 10 minutes to go. He always goes to Maddison. And certain times, Maddison doesn't start. So if you look at games per minute ratio, Kulusevski compared to Maddison, Kulu will have a lot more minutes. Therefore, he would have a higher impact or more of a greater chance to impact in those games. Yet, if you look at the numbers, Kulu's actually got more goals and more assists. And then people will argue, well, and I said it as well. If you look at the attributes of Kulusevski, he looks a lot more physical. But naturally, like Maddison's draw rate in terms of tackling, he's up there in terms of winning the ball back, tackling. He's not like he's a slouch when it comes to tackling. Just like I said before, the perception is Maddison doesn't ride that challenge. He'll go on the floor down a lot more easier than say Kulusevski. So I think that's why I threw out that question to start with. I said, is he the one? Does he see Ange ball? Is he the scapegoat? Is he the one that, at the detriment of the team, he's sacrificed? He's the sacrificial lamb in our team when things aren't going wrong. And we need legs, we need energy, we need a bit more balance in that midfield, because that's where Sarr will come in, and he's a bit more defensive. He would start more deeper, and then he's got the energy and the legs to run that ball forward, to help bridge the gap between the defense and the attack through that kind of platform. So it depends how you perceive it. I like passing, but I also understand in the Premiership, ball carrying now is very popular.
Yeah.
I look at Newcastle, where you are quite similar, where you have Joe Linton, he's a powerful runner.
Yeah.
You've got, now you've pushed Bruno Gomes from the 6. You've now moved him into an 8 position. Now he's becoming a bit of a. You've got Gordon, who's a runner as well. You've got Barnes, runner. Do you understand? Look at the profiles of your players: runners, hardworking. You know, everyone, no slouches. Even Willock, like he's not
Willock. Yeah, Isak, all those guys.
Up and down. You know, they cover a lot of ground, and so maybe Ange is looking at it and he's thinking, I need to match that for certain games, for certain teams. I need more legs. That's what the coaches say. I need more legs. I need energy. I need stamina. I need an engine. That's what we hear. The coaches say, he's got a great engine on him, or he travels well. Do you know what I mean? Maddison has got that kind of complex where some people might look at him as a luxury player. I don't think he is, but in terms of like, can he stand up when, I don't know, when things are going hard, when you're looking for your leaders? And this is when Harry mentioned Son, and he kind of brought Son into that kind of bracket, because again, is he a player that's going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and, you know, turn things up and win you the game? And we've got too many of those players when you're like, well, we need you now. Like a lot of games we're losing, if you realize, our away form, I think defensive records, we only lose a game by a goal. Do you know what I'm saying? Yep. So it's not like we're terrible defensively away from home, meaning that we're not far off from what we need in terms of the balance of the midfield. But at times, you can see where the flaws are. Maddison, he doesn't suit, or he doesn't fit that typical quote-unquote Ange ball or that modern-day Premier League football coach one. If I'm comparing it to Eddie Howe. Sorry, but
No, it makes sense. I mean, you talk about Bruno Gomes being put forward. We can only put him forward because we've got a Tonali.
Exactly.
So, exactly. A sitting 6. Exactly.
And times you can make a double pivot with him, because
exactly
where Murphy drops in, then you allow Joe Linton to come in to create a box, and then you can do like an overload with Gordon. Gordon can go in a half space because Joe Linton's coming that side, or if it's Bruno Gomes,
yes,
on that side. So then the player doesn't know whether to mark Gordon or to mark Bruno Gomes. Do you know what I mean? What do I do? And then and then also, because Hall's pulling wide now, no one's marking him. The fullback doesn't know to go to Hall, to Gordon, and Gordon could double up and switch over. So that's another issue. And then
I hope Ange isn't watching it. You're telling all of our secrets.
Hey, listen, Ange, I'm hoping Ange is watching this and he's picking up and making notes, because what the issue we have at the moment is, yes, our fullbacks commit to the press. So at times we commit 4 bodies forward, 5 bodies forward.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means our 3 forwards, meaning our forward in Solanke, Son, another striker, and then Johnson, the other winger, they would jump in the press. Then one of our midfielders would jump in the press. Let's say it's a Kulizeski, for example. And then on top of it, our wing back will press as well. So that's 5 players pressing. Now, when teams beat that press, for example, it goes into your goalkeeper pulls it into your fullback or your centre back, and then he pushes it into one of your double pivots.
Yes.
And you have 5 men to compete with 5 men, or even a 6-man, because the goalkeeper acts as a centre back. We're screwed because you've got a man over. They beat the press, and then all of a sudden there's acres of space, and all you see is Spurs players always doing that, running with their back, running back, always away. Like, why is it that it looks like a counter attack? Why are we always getting transition? Why is there always acres of space in that? Why is it that our centre backs are having to run back? And also the centre backs we do have at the moment, one isn't experienced. He hasn't got minutes in the Premier League as a centre back in Archie Gray, competent on the ball, but he has a partner in Dragusin that isn't experienced in the Premier League either, and he's used to playing in the back 3, whether it be for his home nation or for his actual club that he came from before. So then you've got 2 issues there. Then you've got Sarr, who's meant to be playing a defensive role at times because he's meant to be an 8, so you do 50% attacking, 50% defending. He's not covering that 3rd man. When you do the 3rd man runs, when when you've got like your team's breaking essentially, and maybe like Murphy's got the ball, who's running off Murphy? It might be Isak's running off Murphy. You might have Gordon that's tucking in, running off Murphy, and you might have Joe Linton running off as well. So then Sarr, sometimes because he's not defensively switched on or defensively minded like that, he's not helping Porro out, and Porro has been tired because our squad's quite thin at the moment because we've had so many injuries from our back 4, from our back 5. We've been overplayed, and so we're switching off. And balls over the top, balls into space. Players are not sure whether to jump or to sit back, and it's been a cluster of problems. And this is what's causing Spurs so much problems at the moment, in my opinion. By the way, I don't know.
Since you jumped ahead, thank you very much. We'll get into it, but I know, Harry. I don't know how long I've got you for. I know that you've got if I've got you for a little bit longer, or you're.
No worries, you can keep going. It's fine.
Brilliant. I was gonna just before I go to this part actually. Yes. So we've got. I know I'm gonna get all your team's numbers wrong. I know that's not how you guys play.
Yeah, that's fine.
But is it a 4-3-3, 4-4-2? What is it again?
Yeah, 4-3-3. 4-3-3, pretty much.
4-3, yeah. Well,
so is it would Solanke start? Is that correct?
Yeah. Solanke would start. Yeah.
What's his number? Oh, you have to remember.
19, if you want. Yeah, it's up to you.
You guys are good with that. If you guys can remember the numbers, brilliant. It's not. I'm not testing your. I'm not testing just how Tottenham you are. Like if you don't know the number.
What it is, I did the tactics board, yeah, and I was like you. I thought I know I'm gonna care, and like my paddy was on to me. What? Who's that? Why is that player that number for? I was like, throw it. I just put them in position. They're like, no, he's not that number. So I was like, all right, cool, all right.
Who's on the left to Solanke?
Son.
So he's starting as well.
Yeah. And then Johnson. I don't know. What do you think, Harry?
What number is Son?
7. Sorry, 7.
7.
Yeah.
For me, I reckon it will be Son. It's not what I would do. I'd start Maddison there, but I think that will be the front 3: Johnson, Solanke, and Son.
Johnson. What's Johnson's number?
Johnson is 23. Is it 22? Sorry, 22.
22,
sorry.
Yeah, I think it's 22. Yeah.
Johnson.
23 is Porro. 22.
And Madison and Johnson were out with the darts today, weren't they? I didn't know they was.
Was it darts again today?
No, not again. No. Like
they were out. They were out.
Yeah.
I think it was New Year's Eve or something. They were.
I didn't know they were close.
They're besties, man. They're proper type.
Fair play.
Yeah, they're proper type.
So on the left, who have you got behind Son?
So what do you reckon? Do you reckon he's going to do Sarr, Bentancur, and Kulizeski, or do you think it would be
Bentancur's out, isn't he? Suspended.
Oh, sorry. So Basuma.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Definitely Kulizeski on the right, and definitely Basuma. So that 3rd midfielder who it's going to be. I reckon it will probably be
Sarr. I think Sarr will be in the left then, and Basuma will be the 6. Yeah, Sarr will be the 6.
So Sarr is playing.
Yeah, I think so. I'll play in the midfield.
Or
What do
is
you
it
think?
or is it suspended? Did you say someone was
Ben-
suspended?
Benton's suspended.
Bentancur suspended.
Oh, I thought he came off. I saw him. Didn't he play against Wolves?
Yeah, we got a yellow card late on.
Oh,
When it rains, it pours.
Literally just come back from ban and he's been banned again.
When it
Honestly.
rains, it pours, man.
Oh, doesn't just.
Okay, so Sarr is.
The only star is I think he's looked leggy recently.
29, I think. So is 20?
29.
Yeah, 29. Yeah.
29. Basuma 6.
Basuma's 8. He's number 8, but he's in the
Oh,
6.
8, yeah.
He's number 8.
Basuma. And on the right is Kulu, yeah?
Yeah, 21, I think.
21.
Yeah.
I like your midfield though. Like it's like, you
That's
know.
why. That's what I think. Ange likes the legs in it. That's why I said there's a bit of a balance because you've got legs in there.
Yeah, that's a good midfield actually.
You've got attacking attempt from Kulusevski, Sarr's the mix between defense and attack, and then Basuma's basically the iffy one from the fans' opinion. He's been up and down, he's been hot and cold this season. And I think for me, he switches off. That's his lapses on concentration.
He does, yeah, he's not always at it. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's not always at it. So basically when he will concede needless yellow cards, for example, needless fouls, and then positionally on the pitch, sometimes he's not aware. He doesn't smell the danger, if that makes sense. He's not always knowing when to pull across to help.
Which you need of a high line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then on the ball, another issue is his first touch is fine. It's his second touch. He over hits it. So he miscontrols the ball a lot.
Hasn't got the finesse.
Yeah, he wasn't doing that at the start of last season. This season, he's been, and I think it's down to confidence, me personally. That's what I put it to. But there's a lot of times when I'm like, you don't need to carry the ball here, or you don't need to dribble here. You don't need to be brave here. Just play it simple. And I think the difference between him and Bentancur will just play it short, snappy. Like he's got a better rhythm about him than Basuma, if that makes sense. So when I say rhythm, energy in midfield, like popping it off, keeping it simple, keeping the ball ticking over, passing it from left to right, keeping it short, and then that helps the team to press the ball up the pitch. So sometimes you don't always need to do a forward pass. Sometimes you don't need to force it and carry the ball. Sometimes you don't need to force and dribble. Sometimes just by recycling the possession, that's how you're keeping the team relaxed. You know what I mean? You're holding on possession, and then you're turning the tide as well, because game state matters. Do you know what I'm saying? Game state, if you want to control the game, you need that. And Basuma lacks that control.
But how much do you think that is instructions from the manager, and how much is that Sarr, do you think?
Well, this is it. Like, I don't know what Harry thinks. So Harry can chime in. But
what is Porro? By the way, Porro's on the right? He's on the right.
Yeah, 23.
23. You guys are proper Spurs fans, man.
All right, Dragusin's on the right. Dragusin.
He's got a great hairstyle. What's his number?
Is it 16? About 14? Archie Gray's 14, isn't it?
Oh,
this is a real test of knowledge now.
Yeah.
The ones you like, you know them, but
Gray's definitely 14. Yeah, exactly. The ones you know. I don't know Dragusin. I don't know it, to be honest. I'm not going to pretend I do.
Well, 16, you know. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to go with 16.
All right. So
what?
No,
He's 6. He's number 6. He's 6. He's number 6. I don't know why I said 16.
So who's on your left?
Archie.
Left back.
Archie Gray.
What, left back?
Oh, left back is Spence will be Spence because the dog is
Spence. Jed Spence. That's
out of position.
Yeah.
Mate, this is looking tasty. Right. So number 1, obviously, is it's not. He's injured. Vicario's injured. This Foster.
Forrester. Yeah. 20. He's number 20.
He's our former academy player.
Yeah.
You take him back.
All right. So, I mean, I'll start off with you guys. I know you talked about, pick up where you left off in terms of.
Spencer's 24. You almost got it there. He's 24.
Oh, he's 24. Okay.
It's 24.
24.
Do you think Trippier will play for you? I don't know. I read that Trippier was out.
Well, he's been declared fit, and I'm wondering if we're back to our dark arts, because the game before last against who did we beat? it wasn't. We beat thingy the game
United.
before the last. He was doing that thing,
sorry,
rubbing his hamstring. So the next game we're thinking, it's Livramento. It looks like Trippier pulled his hamstring. Next thing we know, line up Trippier starts the game. So
he used to do that.
Right.
And then again in this game, it's like, yeah, my hamstring, and I'm like, and then we're hearing noise declaring. I'm like, but when we're back to doing our dark arts, I'm like, yeah, we're
Yeah. I'm honest, I prefer Livramento. I think he's done really well. I think with Hull as well. I think fullback's done well this year.
He's exceptional. Livramento, speaking of ball carriers, he's one of our really, really good ball carriers. Very good and very press resistant as well. So oftentimes he'll actually join in and kind of he would invert. So if I take this guy off, where's Livramento here? So Livramento's here. So if it's not Trippier, I think Trippier will start. But
I think he will because it's Spurs as well.
Exactly. So
he couldn't deal with Son. He couldn't deal with Son, last time. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so he would exactly, and sometimes Livramento will invert like that, allowing Tonali and Joe Linton and others to kind of push up exactly what we're talking about. So he might start. Why I think Eddie Howe at times prefers Trippier, is not just because of his leadership, but also because speaking of, I think it's almost the same as the difference between Maddison and Kulu, which is Trippier is very good at passing. So he just sets off our attacks a lot more quicker for what we want to do. So if you guys are attacking, like
Livramento's safer, isn't he? And just more like
so
almost.
Exactly. So if we're looking to match you pace for pace and make sure that Sarr or Son can't really hurt us too much, Livramento and Murphy is like good for pace, even though Trippier's position is really, really good. But Livramento doesn't necessarily have the passing range that a Kieran Trippier has. So I think that's why at times he's preferred. Now for us,
who's your other centre back that you're going to play? Because I know you picked up.
It's going to be Kelly. It's going to be Kelly.
Yeah, it'd be Kelly. I think it's too early for Botman.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be on our bench. He's declared himself fit.
Okay, interesting. I know.
So I'm so happy. I'm so happy he's back. Our Botman.
You don't think he'll play?
A little bit too early. A little bit too. I would imagine it's a little bit too early. If Howe puts him in, and he doesn't really need to. He doesn't really need to. Kelly's he's left footed, just like Burn. Typically, Howe likes to have a balance. Kelly's also left footed, but he doesn't need to. I think the game he will start is probably in the FA Cup against Bromley. I think we're playing something like that.
Right,
I think that's where he'll start. But it would be good just to have him on the bench. Now, picking up from where you guys left off in terms of your attack, direct me, guys, in terms of how you guys got. I imagine in terms of your press, if we start off with the ball, I'm assuming that your main strength is your press, just like us, really.
Mm-hmm. It depends. So sometimes we press in a 4-4-2. Sometimes it's a 4-1-4-1. But yeah, more time you're right. It's Son and Solanke leading that press initially. So
I'll start by putting the Spurs defense on the halfway line. I think it's a good start.
No problem. We'll do that. We've got them there, right there. If you guys do this, and I saw you do it, if you guys do this, it's going to be insane to me.
This is where the Ange out debate.
Wing is literally, where the managers are in the dugout. But it feels like hugging the touchline.
But to really make it work, exactly. Well, for me, and you guys correct me, it's your team. You know more than I do.
Basuma, by the way.
Pardon me?
Sar's not as close, and one of those fullbacks, will join that 5.
Joe. Oh, so Jed will go push up right like this.
Yes, that's basically how we got caught against Liverpool, and how we've been getting caught out from other teams.
So, the fullbacks haven't inverted into midfield as much as
but even if they don't invert, when it comes to the press, even if they stay out wide, you still got that amount of space.
We actually said against Liverpool it was one pass and
exactly. And Jed jumped. He jumped wide on Trent, and Trent was playing in his fullback position. So it wasn't like Jed had inverted. He still went out wide, but because Trent's got that ability on the ball first time and he saw it, he crossed it in, and then what's his name, Szoboszlai, won that 1v1 duel in the air against Dragushin, brought that ball down, and then the rest was history. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if they invert, it's about how many players we commit to a press. And
Yeah,
that's a
100%.
philosophy. And because we've had a week rest,
You can't just half
these
press
players-
either, which we've done a lot of.
yeah, because the excuse was the reason why we drew against Wolves is because Andrew was saying we had a lot of players tired. They played, twice in 1 week, etc., injuries, whatever, whatnot. Now we've had a whole week to rest. He's going to revert back to type, meaning we're going to commit more bodies forward. We're at home in front of our fans. And so I wouldn't be surprised, even if the fullbacks don't invert, which I don't think is a real issue. It's about how many men we commit to the press and whether Newcastle can beat that press. And if they do beat that press,
100%.
what is our defensive shape after that? That's the issue. And so go on.
Go on. No, go on.
No. All I'm saying is, like, me structurally, I wouldn't want to have, and it looks like sometimes when the forward, like to be fair.
So hold on, let me understand this. Sorry to interrupt you, Ash. So let me understand this because okay, so say on the right side here, Porro pushes up because you guys mentioned Johnson keeps on touching the high. So who goes? So if Porro pushes up, Johnson doesn't. He doesn't squeeze in there. He goes on the outside.
No, goes wide. So he wants them to hug the touchline.
So he goes here.
Porro be more in
here.
midfield.
Yeah, Porro's more in midfield. That's right.
Oh, so Porro stays here.
So you're gonna have So Solanke might be on and Kelly. Yeah.
Okay.
Kulusevski could be on Burn.
Right.
You might have Johnson on Hull.
Okay.
Like that. So that's what would look like the shape.
So Porro just behind him, like he's kind of blocking in the channels.
Yeah. So he's in Porro.
But Gordon and Murphy will be free. That's the issue Spurs will have. But we will try and get the ball to Kulusevski and isolate Burn.
Basically, we're trying to pin you in. So, like you said, Sarr will be on Bruno. So if you bring Sarr into Bruno, you could have left him there. But yeah, Sarr will be on Bruno there. So what happens essentially?
He'll follow Bruno wherever he goes.
Wherever he goes, exactly. So essentially, what Bruno will do, rather than Bruno staying centrally, Bruno will pull out
wide.
You understand? That's the
Isak drops in. Murphy's on his bike.
Do you see what happens now? Do you see where tactically we?
But then where's Bissouma then? Like he needs to be alive.
Bissouma is the one
that's where he gets lost. He wanders.
Right. Okay.
Because but Bissouma doesn't know whether to hold his ground centrally or to cover the fullback,
which is what happened last time in our game. Last time,
he doesn't know who to go with. That's what I find.
Yeah, exactly. Because the fullbacks are pushed high and wide. Now it's like, or inverted, whatever you want to call it, they're high up the pitch, no matter what. Bissouma's got to cover one of the fullbacks. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's where the issue happens. So even if, for example, let's say Jed Spence didn't push us high up, or we only had one fullback pushing high up, technically Bissouma still has to cover ground, because unless what happens is Archie Gray and Dragushin split wide, which happens sometimes.
Well, like this,
wide, like that. Then essentially you would have a back three, but still look how much space is in the half spaces. That's what I'm saying, because you'll never see Bissouma in the back four. You'll never, and so it's like a 3-1-6, but more time it's not a 3-1-6, it's a 2-1-7, bro. I'll be real.
As I was going to say, let's be honest here. There's very rarely more than two defenders back. I think
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying to you.
In midfield. Yeah.
That's really, it's a 2-1-7. So that's why I'm like, in the debate when it comes to Anjin and Anjao. Do you see where there's so much like attacking intent? You're like Anjin, like da da da. But once that press gets beaten, that's where the issues are, and that's why some people are not sure whether this type of tactic is sustainable. Because like when we battered teams, we battered them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
I worry about Gordon and Murphy in this game about the ball going. They're going to have so much space.
Of course. So like if you remember back to when we played you at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last season, you guys were playing 2 games a week. You were tired. And we took advantage of that. And so we committed so many bodies forward. And remember, we had, if I remember right, we had Romero playing and we had Van de Ven. Do you know what I mean? This time we don't have our 2 first choice centre backs and we don't have our keeper.
Newcastle so much better as well.
Playing out from the back, which hinders us from playing the football we want. Our first phase of play, attacking play, progressing the ball from out the back, isn't as good as it should be, and it breaks down some of our attacks, because normally when Spurs play out from the back, we're boom, 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 and then we're up the pitch. We're out.
Yes.
Not saying that I'm not saying that Forster's, abysmal, but then he's not elite.
He's not Vicario. He's not Vicario.
He's not Vicario. And I'm not even saying Vicario's elite, because at times Vicario would dwindle on the ball at times and make mistakes, but at least he's not as Forster, his launch balls aren't great. Let's put it that way. Do you know what I mean? And that's where our attack breaks down. So that's the reason why we're linked with a goalkeeper right now in Wolves as goalkeeper, where we're linked to Johnston. No,
Johnston. Okay.
But he's 31 years old, and his ball progression is terrible as well. So I don't even know. And his save percentage is worse than Forster's as well. So I'm like, to the board, what are we doing here? I don't quite understand that. But anyway,
I heard that you guys are going to get Ben Godfrey as a defender as well.
We're being linked with him, but then there's some reports to distance ourselves with it, and then some reports are saying that we are looking at him. So it depends which source you believe. Is it HP source or is it barbecue sauce? I don't know. But
if I was Hal, because Hal is a smart gentleman.
He's indeed.
He's not bad. Because I'll point to 2 seasons before, because when we beat you home and away, when our team was fresh.
Yeah.
I understand the logic of what what's his name, Postecoglou's trying to do. He's trying to overload our back line by bringing in those guys. So Jed Spence pushes up. He's trying to keep Livramento busy. Son should drop in here into this gap. So Kelly's in 2 minds. Is it Solanke or is it Son? And so somewhere in the middle, in case the ball breaks, or you need to have someone. Maybe Jed wants to do a 1-2, for instance, and get around and stuff like that. And heaven forbid if Bruno doesn't track Sarr or Murphy, for instance, then everybody's in trouble. The problem for you is Murphy does track back, for instance.
Yeah,
he'll be tracking back if Sarr does come into there, or he'll come back for Sarr, excuse me. And if your attack breaks down, all that happens is the ball goes here to Tonali. Isak drifts out wide. Archie's thinking, "Oh, help me, heaven! What's going to happen here?" Everybody pull, because we have you see Joe Linton, Gordon, everybody sets off here, and then you get this type of situation where where's my thing again? And you guys already talked about it extensively, where this back line, Archie's is going to think this is going to be a repeat of Liverpool.
Now, the only caveat I can say is, and Harry can disagree with this, what we might do is Archie Gray might drop back maybe 5 or 10 yards, and then Dragusin might do the same.
But he just keeps them on side though. That's even worse.
So yeah, he drops that line a little bit further back at times. Like when we're in possession, the 2 centre backs, they're on the halfway line. But when we're at times, sometimes we might drop the centre back, or one of them might drop a little bit further back. And I think the reason for that is that they're not running all the way back to their goal line. Does that make sense? They're not running.
It does, but I think that's even easier for us.
But basically, that the problem with that now is there's a bigger gap between attack and defense. There's more of a space in that kind of midfield area where you lot can exploit. So there's pros and cons because lots of Spurs fans are like, "Why are we doing this high line? We need to drop the line. We need to drop the line." But like you said, you're either playing them on side. Or B, you're giving Newcastle more space in the central areas in midfield. And the whole point of Postecoglou's system, it's meant to be a 2-3-2-3. So basically, we've got a corridor where the central area is hard to break through. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So 2 centre backs, 3 in midfield, whether they be the 2 full backs or maybe 3 midfielders. Then you've got the 2 in front of them, 2 attacking 8s or 2 attacking 10s.
Yeah.
And the front 3 are the front 3, meaning the wingers or whatever. So that's meant to be the build-up. But
so that makes sense. That makes sense.
That's what the build-up's meant to be. But going back to something you said earlier, you said, do you think Ange is giving instruction? Now, Harry's been to many a game and he's watched many a game with Postecoglou. More time, he's got his hands in his pockets, right? He's not really doing instructions like that. And neither is his coaching team, to be fair. His coaching team is sitting back on their seats.
Are you serious?
Yeah. This has been the big reason why people Ange, he's always got his hands in his pocket. Because
Howe and Tyndall are constantly they're there like
Yeah, no.
constantly talking to the players.
So basically, the debate is that when Ange is the reason why he's doing that is because he's given responsibility to the players, especially when it comes to creativity. He doesn't want to interfere. So the idea is that tactically we're not predictable, if that makes sense.
Sometimes you have to, I think. He doesn't. Sometimes you have to interfere for the benefit of the team. Like when you drinks break and that, no one offers the players drinks or any advice or any feedback on how they're doing it. The only time Andrew move is half time to go.
Yeah.
It's
So yeah, this is where people have, I say, Ange doubts. If you're not Ange or out, some people have Ange doubts, like whether he is that guy because the in-game management is lacking. And like Harry just said, only at half time will he get his message across. But other than that, he's keeping quiet. He's keeping storm. Some might say maybe in the Wolves game he was a bit more vocal, but sometimes I feel like when we criticize him for it, then he starts doing it. But if we win a game, you don't really see that. So predominantly over the season, he's been hands in pockets kind of manager.
All would happen for us is because Joelinton does this a lot against high pressing teams. He'll drop in and he'll almost be like right back here. So Newcastle turn into a flat back five sometimes. Sometimes because it also gives the option for our fullback to sometimes stay up a little bit, just to kind of add extra option up front. So yeah, Johnson comes in, he does his thing. Maybe Porro, that's covered. That's okay. What it allows then is either go if it's on the left side here, for instance. Gordon will be here on the left, joining in with Lewis Hall and other. Isak, because he's so smart, will go on that left side as well. Will join in the attack.
When he hurt us at St. James Park when he did that.
Exactly. And that's all he's going to do.
He was like pulling wide. And I think that'll be on purpose because they know Dragushin's the weaker of the two players technically, if that makes sense. So a lot of teams have targeted Dragushin because they
even though he's the only defender we've got available, that's all credit to Gray as well. 18 years old, has done really well, and Dragushin, I mean,
I think aerially, Gray's vulnerable, but I think on the floor, in terms of like playing out, that's
absolutely. Well, I think Dragushin's a good defender, just not in this system.
Box defender, he's good. Like
he's no nonsense aerial
physicality as well. Like I don't think he's slow. People say he's slow, but I just don't think he's explosive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
but I think they use Dragushin. I think laterally he doesn't move well, meaning like from side to side or rotations. He hasn't got that kind of speed where I think if you give the ball to Gordon or Isak, they move the ball quite quickly between their feet. So they got quick movement with their feet. And so can a Dragushin deal with that? Can he cope with that type of explosiveness? I'm not too sure. But yeah, so there's a few issues. Basuma, again, he's a type of player. If it's not going too well, he could go missing. So
100%.
that's
he gets a bit frustrating. Like if you're in his situation, if people are just whizzing by you and you feel like you're the last person there, you can probably feel it as like he can, but you have to be kind of firm. I think. I said, okay, so that's Tottenham from the attack, and I always feel like the first 15-20 minutes is going to tell me a lot about this game.
100%.
Because
we're like Mike Tyson. If we get you in the first few rounds, you're toast. But if we don't knock you out within those first few rounds, bro, you can get us. And what it is, and a positive thing, when we do pin you back, like you were showing in the earlier clip, what we do is we do triangles. So on the left-hand side, we build up quite well on attacking third, where we will have Son, Spence, Son, Spence, and maybe Sarr in a triangle. Or maybe sometimes Kulu will pull over, or maybe Solanke will come over and make a diamond.
Yeah, nice overloads.
Yeah, nice overloads. So we'll try to create superiority to kind of beat you. So then that pulls your players all over to one side of the pitch, and then that's when gaps start opening up, and that's when we can exploit. The problem with Spurs at the moment is we haven't got too many attacking phases of play. We haven't got too many attacking styles where we can mix it up, because our wingers typically
predictable.
Yeah, we're quite predictable. So our patterns of play, that's what I was trying to say. Our patterns of play aren't that where we've got, all right, cool, we can do this. All right, we'll switch to that. Okay, we'll switch to that. And it's down to whether the players have the IQ to kind of recognize that fast enough in game, if that makes sense. So Son, in my opinion, he's kind of wasted out wide when he's deeper. If that makes sense in the build up, he's wasted because I don't think he's got good.
Yeah, here is this. Yeah, exactly. You don't want him here.
Yeah, there. But
you want him here.
Yeah, but you want him more in the inside channel in the in the 10 role. But when you've got him even higher up, lower back. So if you've got Son lower back but wide again, yeah,
here,
like even further back. But
he goes down there.
Sometimes you'll see Son there, but I'm talking about in build up.
Oh, okay.
In build up. So forget all the players in this position. In build up, that's when Son will lose the ball. When you try to force a pass when it's not there, or you'll try to take on a player and you're like, Son, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? He's more dangerous when, again, the opposition are attacking us and he's got space in behind.
And should say to him, don't do your defensive work. Don't track back. He won't do it for a minute, of course. Stay up top. Like with Honest, I think it's done with Salah. Reduce that workload.
Right then, Harry. Appreciate
get more out of him.
Appreciate to the congregation over here, because I said this before on one of my channels. I got laughed at, but I think it was the terminology I said. I said Spurs need to work on something I called the rest attack. You know, you got rest defense. Rest defense is obviously how you set up in possession. So how do you defenders look without the ball, innit? Rest attack is exactly the same. So when we don't have the ball, how many players do we commit up the pitch? Do you know what I'm saying? So we've got a target man to aim at. So I think we should commit Solanke, because Solanke for me drops deep quite a bit and he defends quite a bit as well. If you've got Solanke a little bit higher up the pitch, he can be our out ball. But then also if you've got Son higher up the pitch, then he could be the person that, you know what Kane used to do for Son? He could equally do that for Son, and Son could run in behind and do those curved runs. And then, you know, we could help get out. Maybe have Kulu somewhere in between that. You know, you want Kulu with his physicality defending and helping, but then maybe he can be that link man. Do you know what I'm saying? So I agree with Harry, man. I think a lot of the times we don't need to have Son defending, you know, helping out. But at the same time, because we have our fullback so high and wide, what our weakness is, when you have Murphy and let's say it's Livramento going down the flanks, that's a 2-on-1 on Jed Spence. Do you know what I'm saying? Unless Basuma comes over, unless Sarr comes over, it's a 2v1. And if the Basuma or Sarr don't come over, then there's an exploitation in the middle, like there's space in the middle. So there's multiple things that you have to worry about tactically, in my opinion. So
that's Spurs in attack. Before we go on to a conclusion and predicted scores, I'm going to talk about Spurs in defense. We do kind of like defense, obviously, because obviously when you attack, you got to defend as well. Okay, Basuma, Sarr here.
You play a back four. We play a back four with Basuma. So 4-1-4-1. That's what we do.
4-1-4-1. Basuma, Sarr, Kulu. Who's this? Son is going to be.
It's the Son. No, it's not Son. It's Solanke. It's the lone striker.
Solanke is the lone striker.
You have Son on the left.
Kulu in the middle. Oh, far left.
Yeah, Son on the far left. And then Sarr and Basuma next to each other. And then Kulu on the far right. That might make sense. Sorry, Kulu and Johnson. So Johnson far right, and then Kulu,
So like this.
No. So 4-1-4-1. So you'd have Johnson next to Kulu.
Oh, okay.
But but Basuma will be in the one. He's by himself.
He's by himself. Kulu like this, in front of him.
Yeah.
And Johnson next to Kulu. Sarr like this, Son like this. Okay.
A bit more narrow though. Because basically we're saying, the wider you are, the better it is for us because you're away from the goal.
Makes sense.
Does that make So that's why we're compact in that 4-1-4-1 defensive shape.
And defensively, how have you guys been? I mean, apart from obviously when you're in attack, it seems to be the bigger issue. But when you're
actual defending, when the teams actually have the ball, I think we're like one of the away from home we've conceded, I think one of the least, but at home we've been battered lately, innit? So but But our goals have recently become from transitions. A lot of lately have come from transitions. Some have been from set pieces. Some have been from individual errors. Like for example, I remember Brighton's a big example. I remember we capitulated. We were 2-0
Yeah.
up, and that was individual errors from, I would say, Udogie. Before Udogie, maybe Van der Ven. He's expected him to get to that ball, but again, our team's getting pulled to one side, and we're getting hit on fast breaks. We're not able to deal with it. Lately, we played Forest. I don't know if you saw that game, but with Forest,
No, I didn't see that one.
Morgan Gibbs-White, our favorite player,
Yeah.
on the ball. He did one through ball into Alanga. Was it Alanga?
Oh, I saw that goal. Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. But where was our
knife through butter?
Yeah, it was too easy. Way too easy. Way too easy. So, yeah, like I think most of our goals happen when we're in possession, like because that's when we're switched off defensively. I think go on.
No, go on.
I was gonna say, I think when the opposition have got the ball, we're actually not that bad. Do you know what I mean? Because, like I said, we're quite compact, we're quite narrow in terms of defending. But it just takes one or two errors, one or two laps of the concentration, and we might give away a free kick or a corner or a set piece. And then it's all about game state for me. We don't really manage the game state too well. Like when the team's on top, it's hard for Spurs to swing that momentum around into our favor, in my opinion.
So that's is that more of a mentality then?
Yes, it's a mentality, but also I don't think Ange believes in the whole dark arts thing.
No, he needs to. He's going to find out about it.
He wants. I think there's a statistic where Spurs play. We start the ball faster than anyone else, meaning that as soon as it's out of play, we want to get on with it as soon as possible.
Right.
We don't slow it down or waste time. We try to we're number one for that. Do you know what I mean? Hence why we've got some of the highest running stats as well, some of the highest pressing stats. But again, alongside of it, we've got some of the highest injury stats as well because we do so much running and we're playing twice a week, which you'd know about from last season. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So the two go hand in hand. High pressing, high running, high energy, fatigue, shortened squad, lack of rotation. These have all culminated into us not performing at the highest level, and the confidence drop in some players. When you keep losing games, you keep drawing games, they lose confidence, and that leads into mentality. Because, like we said before, we're the leaders. You look into your senior players, and they're down tools in. Do you know what I mean? They're not stepping up and saying, "Come on, guys, let's get a hold of things." You know what I mean? And you expect our captain Son to be that guy, but he's not really. Well, on the pitch at least, he hasn't really been that guy. Over the majority of games, he hasn't pulled the guys out of it and said, "Come on, guys, we can do better." And that's just me being honest. I'm a Son fan, but this season it's just he's not been that guy. He's not been.
No, he hasn't.
In terms of our attack, we're going to be forced say on the right. So we're a little bit, I think, from what this compared to what I think you guys described, we're a little bit more. You make us sound conservative the way you guys attack, but our fullback pushes. But it's only like if we're going on the right side, typically it's just the one fullback that pushes up one side. Lewis Hall would usually drop in. We'll drop in with Lewis.
Bro, who we are.
It's who you are. Lewis Hall would drop in, making a 3-man centre back. And with Kelly now, we've got a little bit more pace.
Yeah.
So
you know, as well, we would
exactly. So now I would imagine, depending on where Solanke is, I think maybe Kelly, maybe a little bit the furthest one back. Typically, it's Shaw or whatnot, just to make sure that no one can get caught out too much.
It's so funny, bro. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's so funny. No, if we had Kelly, right, and then Doggy got injured, we would have been fine because he's a mixture between the centre back and left back role. Obviously,
yes,
but he's a player that he's a good squad filler where he can cover two positions. But we decided not to get to buy him because we couldn't sell Reguilon. And essentially what's happened now, this is why a lot of Spurs fans are angry, and hasn't been playing Reguilon. He's kept him out of the squad, but then he wasn't playing Spence at one point. And so Porro and Destiny Udogie have been rinsed and repeat. And then all of a sudden Poro's performance has been going down. The Doggy's been poor all season, but it would have been helped if we had a player like that, and if we got rid of like we did with other players, is cut out the contract, cut the contract regular on, and say, look, you find your own club, and then we could have brought a Kelly in, even though maybe some fans aren't happy with the name of him, the brand of him, but actually you kind of need a player like that.
100%.
As consistent as Ben Davies has been, and like some people say he needs to go, been here for 10 years, we need change. He's been one of our better players when he has come in. But the problem is we don't have a left back that's competent either to help cover the Doggy's poor form. And when you're playing through these players that are constantly, playing through poor form no matter what, and they've got no competition, it kind of stinks. Do you know what I mean? They make mistakes.
You get stale. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Harry, before you go, do you want to give us your score predictions?
Yeah, I hate to be negative, but I don't go into this game with much expectation and defensively.
That means we're going to win.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 4-0 Spurs. No, I think that we're awful defensively. You're on fire at the moment. Defensively, solid. Obviously, be interesting how you do that, Fabian Schär, but you're also doing really well going forward. And I just think, like some Murphy and Gordon are in for, I think, a field day. We just got to keep Isak quiet, and that midfield as well. It's really ticked. Tonali's really grown into that position as the season's gone on, and I think that's been a big factor of why you've improved defensively and also scoring more goals at midfield three, and how it's really settled and gelled really recently. It's all come together nicely for Newcastle, which I'm really happy for you. But in this game, score prediction, I'm going 3-1 Newcastle.
Oh, before you go, Harry, can I ask? Do you have Isak or Gordon in your fantasy team?
Isak, I haven't got Gordon. I'm short of budget at the moment. I have too many premium defenders, to be honest with you. I've banked on Liverpool and Arsenal with their good defenses. But yeah, I'd love, if I could, I would. But Isak's definitely in the team. He's got the vice captain as well. Just in case.
Spurs loyalty, eh? Spurs loyalty. I love it.
I know, right? It has to be done. No Spurs either anymore.
I get it. You're trying to be
consistent.
Big up, Harry, though. Big up, man.
Big up to you, Harry. Thank you so much for your time. And hopefully we'll see each other again very, very soon.
Let's hope so. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Big up to the chat as well.
Love, bro.
Thank you, Harry. Take it easy.
Dash as well. Thank you very much. See you later.
Take care, Harry.
I'll be following. Yeah, Harry's been doing the runs, boy. Trying to do this 5Ks, boy.
So have you. I mean, you've been everywhere. I've seen you on having therapy sessions everywhere with her. I was gonna finally add in terms of what I was gonna say on the right. So we're kind of I said, a little bit more conservative compared to Spurs, but not compared to most teams. So we'd have like a Livramento going back. Yeah. My couple questions were with this. It's around Son's ability to track back. Because if he doesn't track back, he leaves Jed Spencer in a 2v1 versus Murphy.
Yes, he will track back.
Good.
Yes,
Sarr being switched on because Bruno's been really good in these advanced roles. And Tonali gives that confidence of screening our fullback. So because of what he does here in these kind of areas here, screening both sides, left and right, he gives Joe Linton
as well, though, bro.
Say it again.
What I've also seen is I've seen them swap over. I haven't seen Bruno married to that position. Sometimes Tonali has been the one that's driving forward with the ball, and he's in the area. So then now Sarr's like, what do I do now? That's what I'm scared of. Because if he's like, all right, I want you on Bruno Guimaraes, and then all of a sudden they swap over, I feel like Sarr will switch off.
Well, especially because Bruno's one of the elite players in playing back to goal. I know Solanke's incredible. I'm not doubting him. He's incredible at pressing and stuff like that. But Bruno's also incredible at press resistance. So if he gets past, he gives enough press kind of confidence for your Tonali's and Joe Lintons to press forward like this. So Kulu and Sarr have to press back. If they don't, then then there's a problem. And what allows then obviously Livramento's here, these kind of triangles to start forming, and that's what the kind of the play really comes up. And once the ball gets here, you guys. Obviously, it's been kind of held up here. Mm-hmm. You guys are forced back, and you've got this little gap here where Bruno likes to run into. So Solanke has to follow in. Yeah. Solanke has to follow in. So these type of situations have been occurring more and more where we kind of recycle the ball this way and that way.
The problem is what happens is when it goes to one of your back three, Solanke will jump to press.
Yes.
You do the mid block.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
You don't do mid block. And I think that's where
the problem's going to be then.
Tacticals have been worried about Ange for that reason, because he hasn't been able to tweak in game where, okay, cool, let's do a mid block.
So that's where Sar's confused. If Solanke jumps in, Sar has to go here. But Kelly can play with the ball.
Right.
Kelly can play with the ball.
He's got a spare man. You've got 3 men over. So Solanke's job would be to cover 2 of your centre backs in a 3. And that's why typically Spurs sometimes have struggled with a back 3 in terms of our pressing structure.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Solanke trying to cover 2 players, that causes an issue because you've got the 3rd man as an advantage. And so that's another issue with Spurs. But again, as I said, defensively, our focus more so is on the attack, more so than on the defense as of late. People were arguing, say, Ange did tweak it because against Wolves, we were a lot deeper. But when Ange came out in the presser, I listened to him and he was like, I was surprised how much Kulu was running because the team is spent of energy, meaning that they were tired. That's the reason why they were so far back. And I
by accident.
Yeah, it wasn't a tactic. He's basically admitting it. He's like, oh, the players are so tired that, I'm so surprised that Kulu had all that, still had energy to do all of that. Do you know what I mean? Almost like a freak of nature. So that tells you everything. And I think that's why when Slot came out and he was praising Ange and he was like, what do people say he's too attacking? What does that mean? Do you know what I mean? It was almost playing into the hands, like to encourage it. Like,
oh gosh,
you know what I mean? So when managers, I remember Nuno came out and he was praising Ange, like, I think he's doing a great job and blah blah blah. I'm pretty sure Eddie Howe will do the same on Friday, praise him and say, what a great manager. He needs time and this job ain't easy and sympathize with him. He'll give it all that. It's all mind games to me, because then Ange will be like, yeah, I know we're together. They might have a WhatsApp group chat. The middles, the middle ground, the back of them are all chatting, and he's like, yeah. The men are like, yeah, but
I'm gonna be listening with key interest now. Their attack is we've got to be really prepared for it. We have to really defend resolutely. Like if he attack, we're going to be in trouble here. We're just come out. Just as you was talking, I realized. So our left side has been incredible recently. Obviously, I heard you talk about it because you're one of the few people that have noticed it. Lewis Hall. Yeah. Lewis Hall, Joe Linton and Gordon. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more because what adds to it is Kelly.
Yes.
It's having 2 left footers now.
Nice. Balance.
So the balance is incredible. So Burn can stay back a little bit here with Solanke. Yeah. So if you've got this press and you've got Kulu here, what tends to happen is anyway, when we go to the left side, Lewis Hall joins in. There's a growing chemistry between Joe Linton and Gordon that's been working really, really well for us. So at times, and Hall will be there in support or doing the overlaps. I'll introduce Hall in a moment. So either if Gordon, and this is I think I want to help Johnson, but I don't want to help Johnson at the same time. But I think this would be good advice for him. What helps with our 8s and with the Joe Linton as our 8 and Gordon as our right wing forward is that when Gordon wants to go to the byline, Joe Linton will drop in like that and kind of add that overload. And if Gordon wants to go central, Joe Linton, it's a simple thing, but you're going to the left. Yeah, that's all Gordon wants to do. It frees Gordon's mind, because if you just keep Gordon here, he gets a little bit stuck. He's like, oh, man, what am I going to do? So he's got that kind of freedom of dropping in really, really well, and he loves it. And because he knows that Lewis Hall's behind him as well, sometimes when he knows, he'll go, if he wants to go to the byline, Joe Linton will go here a little bit. Hall joins in and creates those overlapping runs, which again, Porro has to think about. Do I go here? Do I go there? That split second. I don't know if you saw the goal against Villa. There's another one where you give him that little split second of room to cut inside, and he's begun to shoot outside the box a little bit more as well this season, which has really hurt. But you create these kind of overloads in these type of situations where this has been happening. And with a Kelly, I mentioned Kelly, he's always left-footed. Hall's left-footed. You've got this type of situation where this can happen a lot more quicker, a lot more sooner. Whereas a little bit more, where Burn can be a little bit more reserved. So it's Hall. So Hall oftentimes has to take on the ball in like a kind of a wide area like this,
Mhm,
and we have to
mhm,
build up a little bit slower.
mhm.
Whereas over Kelly and Burn dropping in here, Livramento going into a back three, Kelly can do that. And
Yeah.
because Kelly's decent with the ball, you've got Hall coming in here. So Johnson, not Johnson. What am I thinking? Yeah, Johnson. Was it Johnson here? It's Johnson, right?
Yeah, Johnson.
He
Yeah.
has to think about either
He's helping. He's
do,
got to help Porro. He's got to help
do
Porro.
I have exactly Poro? And it depends on which side of the which phase of the game. So, for instance, if he comes out to Hall like here,
Mhm,
you will either get a Gordon or depending on who's there. Typically, Joe Linton will be here dropping
mhm.
in,
Yeah.
and then everything sets off.
Mhm,
Isak is either here or there. Gordon
mhm.
drops in, and it sets off.
Yeah.
If you allow these guys to turn in here, the
Mm.
other one obviously if it's a little bit further down, Hall obviously drops in here. Johnson has to follow him. I don't know how Kulu's going to press. Kulu's going to think about how he's going to press Kelly. If he keeps on pressing Kelly like this,
Yeah.
and you guys are creating these type of spaces, Basuma has to reach out to Joe Linton here. Then you've
Yeah.
got Bruno. Then you've got Tonali. Then
Mhm,
Sarr has to drop back.
mhm.
It's going to be interesting to see where and how you guys are going to be doing these parts.
Depends how you set up tactically. I mean, if you
Okay.
guys prefer to, because we're talking about you in our half pinning us back,
Yes.
and obviously we're on a defensive section, but we like to defend high up when we have a full rest, a full week, full energy. So typically, I expect Spurs to defend in your half, not in our own half.
Yeah. Which is what we like to do as well.
Right. So with that being said, I mean, even if this is the case, yeah, where you guys are in our half, yeah, let's keep it like that.
Okay.
I think our threat would be Johnson because Johnson is quick. He's kind of that player that likes to run in behind, and between Kulu will carry the ball. So Johnson's not a ball carrier, but Kulu will carry the ball up the pitch, and Johnson will join him. So when you've got
Okay.
Johnson out wide, he's going to stretch your defense because they're thinking, all right, he's on form in terms of scoring goals. He's someone to worry about. So if that pulls Kelly out of position or it pins Lewis Hall back, then that creates space for maybe a Porro to push slightly higher up. And then that's how we can dominate the ball a little bit more. Because I'm saying it, I've been saying it from a Spurs defensive point of view with you being in our half, but actually the more you push into our own half, the more space there is to exploit in behind. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On our right hand side, typically we're more direct, but we build up on the left. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about the triangles and the pyramids and the diamonds, that's between your Son, your Solanke, and sometimes Kulu pulls over, and then you've got your Jed Spence. That's where we formulate the box, the triangles, the pyramids. But on the right-hand side, we're the opposite. We're literally boom, boom, boom. It might be 3 or 4 passes, and we're trying to get in behind. Do you know what I mean? And Johnson's trying to find. But typically on the left-hand side, when the space is in behind and it breaks, and we do break out real quick from the left-hand side, Johnson's trying to run into the box and aim at the back stick so he can tap in his goal or he can shoot. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's typically what we do when we're trying to hurt teams, when teams are on us. That's when we become our most dangerous. So you almost technically play into our own hands if we allow you to have a lot more of the ball. Do you know what I mean? Because we are a really good transitional team. We're really quick.
Very much.
Back. And we've got the players that suit it as well.
So out of interest, and who's from that point of view, you've been a really good transition team. How typically same as like you do, in order for us to stop transition, our best form of defense is also attack.
Yeah.
So Johnson obviously would want to be touched tight here. We'll have Burn. So say if you wanted to go on the left here, Basuma, Kulu, Joe Linton's going to be key. Joe Linton and Kulu battle is going to be epic.
Yeah.
It's going to be beast versus beast.
Yeah.
We would want Tonali in that 6 because of his athleticism, his recovery runs a lot better than Bruno's. So you'd want Bruno there. Obviously, Johnson's going to be out here. He's going to be asking Hall the questions. Do you pull out wide? Do you go back? Do you leave essentially Gordon with his own thoughts? So this part's going to be very, very interesting, depending on how it works out.
the midfield third would be very interesting to see what happens. Do you know what I mean?
Who's
And
cracked it for you, like in terms of against Spurs? What's been like? Who's really kind of who's kind of I don't know limited. I don't think anybody has really limited your ability.
of like frailties in terms of weaknesses or in terms of positives in going forward.
So who's kind of been able to limit your quick transitions? Who's been the best at that? Like when you've played against them?
Oh, to stop us from counter-attacking.
Yeah. What's been like the best antidote you've seen so far to what Spurs do?
I would. Oh, that's a good question, because even though we've had heavy defeats, we've always managed to find a way to score goals. So
Yeah.
I have to think about maybe a Fulham. Fulham are probably the best team that stopped our counter-attacking threat, and maybe Bournemouth. But what they did is they let us have a lot of the ball. It was quite easy. Like, yeah, we know what you're about. Have the ball in it. And when we have the ball, we're unable to break down teams because
That solves a lot of problems.
yeah. If you put a bank of 4 or 5 and then another bank of 4 in front, the players don't have the IQ to know that we don't move the ball enough. We
play with a black. We play with a flat line with a flat
5-4-1,
4-5-1.
4-5-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
5-1
or
so
4-4-2, depending on how it is. But I think we'll respect you and do 4-5-1.
I remember reading notes. So I think basically, if Newcastle do what I think they're going to do, because they're away from home, if they sit back and they just defend, then that's when Spurs don't have the IQ at times to know how to rotate positions quick enough. Sometimes we do. We commit bodies forwards and they stay there, meaning that if it's a 2-3-5, because that's what we're meant to set up in a 2-3-5, when we're in possession, the front 5 stay the front 5. They don't move and rotate. So the left winger doesn't jump into a 10, and the 10 doesn't jump into the left wing. Sometimes you see it with Maddison, Son, and the doggy, because those 3 have a relationship. But now you're seeing a Jed Spence, who I think is a good left back, to be fair. When he's coming as a left back, he's done well. But the relationship between him, Sarr, and a Maddison, supposing like Sarr's out on the left, I think he might be Basuma though. That's on the left.
Do both your fullbacks have to come up every time?
For a lot of the season, no, there has been a tweak. So
okay,
one of our fullbacks now push higher up or they invert. But at times when we're going for it, sometimes we switch off and they both push at the same time. And that's what I think against Forest, that's what happened. I think both the fullbacks went high up, and that's when we got caught. But this season, from what I've observed, only one of them goes up. I just want to answer the question for Jonathan. He says, Liam Knowles, he said, Ash, if you had a proper centre-back pairing, would Ange feel safer to play Maddison at home, or the injuries make him second guess? I think the centre-backs being out and the goalkeeper, it's not an excuse. I just think the way we play out from the back isn't quite the same with a Dragusin. I wouldn't say so much Archie Gray, but definitely a Dragusin and a Forster. Then he's not as safe in possession. And so
how are you going to play out? How are you going to play out from the back then?
Archie? We're going to do it, but what you're going to see we're going to lose possession at times, and it's going to affect the momentum. You're going to see the momentum and the game state change at times because of that. So what will happen is we'll get the ball, and then Archie Gray and Dragusin will form a back 3 with him. And what he will do, sometimes if it's a goal kick, Archie Gray would take it, pass it to Forster. Forster will then pass it to Dragusin. And then Dragusin, what he naturally does is he passes it to the right back, because Basuma is not safe in possession.
Really? Is it that bad now?
He's that bad now. In the 6, when he comes to collect the ball, I've noticed teammates aren't passing to him, because if we lose the ball centrally, then it's obviously a shot on goal. Do you know what I mean? They're through on goal. So what they're doing, and obviously what happens is a player's always on Basuma. A player's always pressing Basuma. It's almost like they've done their analysis. They know that we want to play through that middle. They won't allow us to. So Basuma will be like offering for it. It won't go to him, and it'll go out to Porro. Porro will be too wide. And when Porro's too wide,
I understand your problem.
Line as an extra defender, they will press Porro, And then if Kulu's not there, and that's why Kulu's so vital, because Kulu's the only one that can drop, invert in that
And
kind of
collect the ball.
collect the ball and progress it. Do you understand? So sometimes what happens when Poro's on it and he's had rest, so he might be a bit better this week because he's had a week off and they've been able to play darts, whatever. What might happen is Poro will drop deep, and as the balls come into him, he might do a first time ball into Kulusevski, and that's how we play out the back. Or sometimes he might play over a long ball into Johnson, and then Johnson can drop a little bit short, lay it off to Kulu, and then we can progress the ball. But the problem is sometimes in progression, Johnson's poor, and sometimes Poro's poor. Kulu, we're just relying on him to be the out ball. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why you see Solanke drop deep so much, because we're poor from playing out from the back to be an extra body, to be an extra out ball. Am I making sense?
Yes. It's
because we don't have enough players. Like, yes, we have athletes. Yes, we have runners. Yes, we have energy. Yes, we have physicality at times. Even though I'd argue we do lack physicality outside of maybe Saar and Kulu. Basuma lacks, he's physical, but because he doesn't know where to be at times and he lacks his concentration, you kind of lose his physicality because he's not in the right place at the right time. So therefore, he's ineffective in that position. Do you know what I mean? And
So
then
with
because
this-
confidence is shot, then because his confidence is shot, he's not showing up. He's not on the pitch. He's not in the right position because he's hiding.
So would the smart thing for Eddie Howe would be, when we're pressing, is press you in a way where we don't leave Basuma by himself, but
You can leave Basuma and you can leave Johnson, because if you give the ball into Basuma, he's going to fumble the bag. If you give the ball to Johnson, he's going to fumble the bag.
but
So
we
you-
force it in a way where you have to pass it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so
Exactly.
set the trap.
Right then, it's a trap, and it all starts from Jagusin, and that's why Gravenberch was like, yeah, we knew to press Jagusin, we knew to press him. So it's not just about Jagusin not being technical enough being on the ball. It's about the other players having their deficiency and their weaknesses, and that's where you come back into the coaching side of things. A good coach will know how to hide these deficiencies, and he will play certain players in certain positions to stop our frailties from happening. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the problem at the moment at Spurs, when we're trying to play out from the back and we're trying to, and he's like,
You know what?
keep doing
In
it
this-
till we get better.
And if you're here, because Man United had that similar problem. They're
Exactly.
different. You know what I mean, isn't it? Because you just press Dallo out wide here.
Correct.
All the other guys don't have the same technical situation, like issues there. They've only got. I forgot who's on the right side of that. I forgot who's on, but he has to almost kick this Hail Mary ball on the side here. Try and bypass Isak Gordon and
same with Mazraoui. So even Forster now, sometimes now he's going long because he knows he's useless going short. So
when
he
you do that,
long,
Vernon Kelly's going to collect it.
Exactly. There you go. Right there, you. And this is some of the, I'd say, concerns about Spurs. I wouldn't say this is a foregone conclusion, but if we're going to talk about Spurs defensively, I've got to talk about things that may be a concern. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why Solanke's got so much work to do, and that's why he's so vital to our pressing, our defending. Do you know
This
what I
makes
mean?
me think that the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes is going to be crucial for Spurs.
Yeah,
because that's when you
we're a team where, and especially the fan base, our fans don't kind of cheer the team on unless we've got something to cheer about, not cheer about, if that makes sense. So if we score a goal or one or two goals, then that gets the fans on their feet. That makes the fans start singing, But if you start scoring or you get a goal, the stadium becomes quiet. That goes on to the players, and then they're not as confident.
Because you know what? If you're not worried about Johnson, like you're seeing this here, like Joe Linton will just press up against Kulu. That's the man.
Yeah.
Tonali is going to either have a dual role, screen against Solanke, but him and Bern will talk. So Bern will kind of have a little arm wrestling here. Bruno's going to go.
I think Bern will do it against Solanke because the physicality and the height between the two of them.
They'll just go at it, which leaves Tonali in a sort of situation where he can screen, but then he can also help. So Bruno's going to be free to press on Basuma. They're going to force you. Murphy's going to be here on Jed Spence.
Essentially, you could double up. Essentially, you have a man.
You can double up. That's going to be a problem.
Because what it is, like I said,
if you can't play out of this, sorry, Ash. If you can't play out of this,
whoa,
geez, bro. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. You were saying.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. So that's the reason why sometimes, like, we're Dragusin when he's on the ball, Forster when they're on the ball, they will go long because they don't have the technical ability.
Because it's a problem.
Because it's a problem. We don't have the players, and that's the reason why. And I think my thing going into the transfer window was
because if you you're about to go into it, but I literally this is why Romero and Van de Ven are so important, because we wouldn't do this to you. We would never press you like that with these two. Sorry, right. Go on.
No, that's it. And I said to myself, and this is the reason why I lost a bit of faith in the project, because I said, if you want a front-footed, possession-based team, you need to have a technical base. Yes, you do need to have legs. Yes, you do need to have like an engine, like stamina, energy, be an athlete, essentially. Do you know what I mean? Yes, you have to have that physicality and win those challenges and want it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But if you don't have that technical base to play progressive football or to play in a possession side team, you're going to struggle. Do you know what I mean? Because then you're going to have to look for certain players all the time, and then teams are going to figure out, anytime they're passing out from the back, they need this player to progress it. Okay, cool. Do you know what I mean? Injuries happened. Obviously, who was to know, bro? Who was to know out of our 4 centre-backs that, you start the season with 4 centre-backs, Dragusin, Ben Davies, who are essentially our number 2s, and Van der Ven and Romero are number 1s, isn't it? Who was to know both of them, again, are going to get knocked out of the season?
Crazy.
2 seasons in a row. Who would know? Who would have known? Who would have known the goalkeeper that can get injured? The whole season got injured. Do you know what I mean? And
that's what we had.
That would essentially break your base. Do you know what I'm saying? So you can relate.
That's what happened to us. That's exactly what happened to us.
And it's the 2 games a week. And people are saying that, wow, you know what? Spurs can't handle 2 games a week. We can't. Essentially, when we play on a Sunday, we go to pieces. Now, this is where I come in with my little hopium. And I say, because we've had the whole week to rest, that might help the energy levels, and we might see an upturn in performance. And we're at home. Do you know what I mean? And we're coming off the back of poor results. So Spurs are bad, but we're not that bad. And I'm saying, look, we're missing 3 players, but that's 3 out of 11. So therefore, you still got another, 9 players there, or 8 players, however much it is. My math's poor. But 8 players, sorry. So 8, you still got, technically 7.
Who have you got to bring off the bench?
Because Doggie's not there, innit? So because Doggie's not there, you got Spence. But Spence is not a drop-off, in my opinion, for Doggie.
Who have you got to bring off the bench?
You got Timo Werner off the bench.
Who have you got to bring off the bench, Ash? Who have you got to bring off
Timo Werner.
No. Who have you got to bring off the bench? Who have you got to bring off?
I said it. Timo Werner, damn it. You wanted. You got it. You got Will Langshaw. Yeah, Will Langshaw.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Because my thing is exactly what you're saying is that first 15, 20 minutes is going to be crucial. I'm going to be like, that's when I'm going to be most tense, because your attack is incredible.
It's relentless. We don't stop.
It's relentless. But once it fades out and you don't get a goal or whatever, or it's 1-1, or and we're getting to the rhythm of the game.
Yeah,
that's where I can kind of see us now beginning to kind of enforcing our will a little bit more into that game.
To be fair, we have got Maddison as well to come on.
Yes.
He's a game changer. So
he is,
and he can give us something where some of these other players can't. So it depends, and I think that's why I said to Harry,
you know what? I see Maddison over Sarr. The more I hear you talk, I think I see Maddison starting over Sarr.
No, but the thing is with Sarr, even though I've picked out his weaknesses, his strengths are his ability to cover ground. So, and his engine. So he covers a lot of the ground. He's got a big engine. And even though I say off the ball, he's not good. Sometimes when we are defending from deep, that's when he can nick a ball. He's good at nicking the ball then. So it depends on where he is on the pitch. On a transition, he's not good. But when we're defending in numbers, that's when you see a better Sarr. So it's a bit like, who's a player to compare it with? I think Man United's Ugarte. Ugarte is good at pressing, but on the transition at times, I think if Ugarte's got to recover, the recovery runs, Ugarte is not as strong. But if it's in front of him, he's good at nicking the ball, winning that ball back. Does that making sense?
How about this? Ash? Barnes would be perfect for Spurs swap for
Oh yeah.
Kulu.
No.
I know what you're saying. I just thinking of a number 8.
I'm
It's
probably
a bit-
gonna say no, not even Son. Werner. Swap Werner.
no, no,
Werner.
no, 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 no.
So Barnes is a lefty, isn't it?
He is.
He's right-footed, but he plays on the left.
Yeah, where Gordon is at.
Kulu doesn't play on the left, so it doesn't really make a sense. It doesn't make sense for us to swap Kulu with Barnes. Because remember,
But you need the left. You need the left
and right. Really, left.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah.
As many goals like Johnson, like what Johnson is a goal threat. So Johnson, as much as people don't like him, he's something for defenders to worry about. He becomes like that player that box crashes and gets goals at the back stick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, hugging this touchline is a problem. Hugging this touchline is going to be a problem.
But in terms of him getting you up the pitch, he's no Harvey Barnes like that, where Harvey Barnes can get you up the pitch and then he can cut inside the box and then finish.
Yeah.
You rarely see that with Johnson. Johnson gets on the end, even when he does score a goal and he's not like attacking the back post, he's still in that area, like that kind of half space inside the box, that right side, kind of hitting it first time kind of finisher.
If we're clever, Gordon might hang around here.
Yeah, Gordon will hang around there. Correct.
Joe Linton just squeeze you in that corner and force you into a long ball type of situation.
You have 3 or 4 players that will play close to each other at times, and you'll suffocate us. And that's where you'll try to win the ball. At times, I see you with a box midfield. I see you box midfield with maybe Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno Gomes, and maybe Murphy coming in a slight box. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And that's how you overload our midfield 3.
Yeah.
And I don't always see our midfield 3 being that over narrow at times. So that's where you'll get your joy. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's so many issues where he just wants Kulu. Yeah, I don't blame him. Quite a few teams want Kulu. Quite a few teams. I mean, some of our fans don't rate him. Like I find it.
Oh, please, yeah. Wow. Okay.
my only issue with Kulu was that, again, like, see with Spurs, we go hot and cold. So when we're not playing well and you want your player to step up, who are they? Where are they? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we've got players when it's going good, they can get a goal.
It's great. Good times.
It's good times. Like, you know what I mean? Kulu talks wicked though. He talks a good game. He talks like a leader at times, but then there's times I'm like, bro, we needed you to bang a goal. Do you know what I mean? Right. And the problem with Kulu sometimes, when it's not on his left, he's reluctant to shoot.
Yeah.
But like when he's driving with the ball or when he's like in tight spaces, he uses both feet. But it's just when he gets the final third, he slows it down, but he slows it down to his own detriment. Whereas there's times when I'm like, all right, you're 1v1. Once you beat the man, just shoot. But he slows it down to a point where it looks like he's going to bring another player on. And then he goes and tries to beat a man. I'm like, no, there's 2 men now. There's too many men back. You had that point where the space was there free. All you had to do is beat the man and hit it with your weaker foot. It doesn't matter. But that's my only issue with Kulu at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. We'll see what happens with him. I'm going to I was going to get to the conclusion and the prediction for this game. Guys, you've been incredible. And this is how I know you and Harry got star power. I think we've got some of our highest views today as well. So I can see what the audience is loving. So you guys have sprinkled some star power into the channel today. I really appreciate you for that. So if I was to conclude, if you was to give me a conclusion, not a prediction just yet, but at the end of a prediction for the game, like, I don't know, 1 or 2, maybe 3 points that you're looking to see from Spurs. It can be good or bad that you're hoping to see for the game. Like, what's your kind of takeaways from today, like in terms of like the tactical breakdown, what you think you're going to see in this game?
I would love to see Dragushin and Basuma really aggressive on Isak. I think Isak is exceptional. He's not the only problem But if we put one fire out, that would help us a lot. So I would like Basuma and Dragusin to become very narrow and form a partnership, especially when you guys try to play balls into it. Because I actually rate Isak's hold up play.
Very
So
good. Very good.
I think that was what helps you quickly transition against the teams. So, and I know we need a player that's close. Saar, for me, has to be ultra tight on Bruno Guimaraes, because I think Guimaraes is the guy that he's the one that switches the play quite a bit. Like when he's in possession, he gets on the ball, he can get his head up, and he can find one of your players. For example, Joe Linton's really good at pulling out wide. He doesn't always play central.
No.
He can play wide at times and pick up the ball almost like a false fullback / left midfielder, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what causes problems for Basuma, because Basuma, he will get sucked into that and want to press Joe Linton. And if he presses Joe Linton, then that's when the space is in the midfield, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
So that's my concerns, where we need Saar to kind of stop that from happening. And I also want to see, I'm not sure we'll see it because Harry explained we play with a back two. I need Porro to be a sacrificial lamb and play a back three. Like not
He
let
has to. He has to.
let that fullback go up and down. He needs to sit a bit. Do you know what I mean? So it's either Porro makes a back three, or at times we have Spence. He's going to be playing left back because is injured. He's got to create a back three at times. Do you know what I'm saying? So we do have that protection like you do. You guys play with a three. We need to copy that. We need to match you up. I need to see a tactical matchups. Do you know what I mean? So we're not getting pulled out of position and getting dragged up. But in terms of what we need to do offensively, I said it before. We just, the last game we lot played you, I think Solanke wasn't playing. I think Solanke was missing. I think it was Kulusevski was in the false nine.
Yes.
Maybe it was
Yeah. Madison, Kulu.
Yeah.
Johnson.
I think that was part of the reason why we were getting that muscle, because Madison doesn't have that physicality yet.
That's what led to the goal. He couldn't press on Joe Linton.
That's it. So this is what I'm saying. That's the reason why I wouldn't start Madison.
Okay.
That reason. I know, like, we've had a few Spurs chats before, like from and our fans think we should go back to the Madison and Kulu attacking, just attack. Do you know what I mean?
If you've got a good number 6, if you've got Tonali,
you can do that.
You can do that.
Yeah. I just see what Gordon's quite smart. Or between Gordon and they know when to come narrow. They know when to come narrow. And so sometimes it almost looks like when you attack, it's almost like in the 2. So
yes,
Gordon will play closer to Isak. And for me, that scares me, because then I know the space. Porro doesn't know whether to come in field, because Saar and Basuma aren't necessarily covering. So,
and Isak's been very good. You're going to make me go back to the board. But Isak's been very good at connecting, whether it's on the left side or the right side of what we're doing.
That's why I said sometimes I want Dragusin to be ultra aggressive on him, physical, be man aggressive with him, because Archie Gray, that's not his game. He's not physical. Do you know what I mean?
He's an 18-year-old boy as well. Like
18-year-old boy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, I think Johnson needs to be ultra aggressive. And that high and wide thing, I want him to play a little bit more inverted and crash that box a lot more and force Kelly, because Kelly obviously is playing as third centre-back, but I assume Kelly will play wide. When you're playing 3 at the back, you kind of split your centre-backs to cover the wide spaces, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I would prefer Johnson to tuck in a bit at sometimes. So and that goes against what Postecoglou wants. He wants his wingers high and wide. But I want my wingers a bit more central, closer to exploit those spaces in behind. Do you know what I mean? Because then at least if we want one of our wing backs or fullbacks to push up, Porro's not bad at exploiting the wide spaces, and neither is Spence. But we invert fullbacks. So
plus, if you're concentrated in the middle, you make our attacks a little bit more predictable.
Yes.
Like you can force us out left or force us out right. Therefore, you can kind of get into the rhythm and flow. And so when you break the attack down, you can come back on the other end. But if your central area is porous, essentially, you're vulnerable in any area of the field. You know, Bruno's getting the better of Saar. Joe Linton's dropping in and taking up spaces where Kulu has left it because he's pressing up against our centre backs. It's just it's too much.
What I can see happening. Sorry to ramble on a bit more.
Now, I was just going to say, guys, just remember to like, share, and subscribe. Send in your predictions before we give ours. Please do send in your predictions to the chat, guys. Let us know what you guys are thinking. We've already got one from Liam Knowles, which is a 2-2 basketball game. Go on, Ash. Go on.
Yeah. Well, now what I'm worried about also is when Spence will invert at some point. He will invert. He will jump into that midfield, and I'm worried about the relationship he's formed with some of our midfielders. He hasn't played that many games with us, so he's really good on the ball. He's quite technical, so he's a safe pair of hands. But when he inverts and he plays in essentially a 10 role, if Star's playing a left 8 or Basuma's playing a left 8, will he get pulled out of position if one of your midfielders, let's say it's a Murphy, or let's say it's Bruno Guimaraes that's pulled wide on that right hand side? Will Sarr follow him into position? Do you know what I mean? Or will he switch off?
The problem is, because we've got a ball playing centre back in Kent. Sorry to interrupt you, Ash. Because the other, I know what the attack you're thinking of, but also if Sarr does get pulled out wide, say if we've got the ball, we've got a ball playing centre back in Kelly, who can now also push forward with the ball now, and now it's an extra problem to deal with.
Exactly.
Right.
But like I said before, we operate, and I expect us to be in a 2-3-2. And I said at times our centre backs might not be on the halfway line; they might drop a little bit behind, so that might help us a little bit because we're not so exposed. Where before you would like have a foot race. I remember Isaac on the halfway line, and then he's
crazy.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like on your marks, get set, go. I'm hoping that Jagushin and Archie Gray drop off that halfway line a little bit, so they're a little bit closer to the box. Vicario's not really Vicario. Forster's not really good.
It's not going to come up. It's not super keeper.
That's the reason why I dropped them back a bit. Do you understand? Because if he was a sweeper keeper, it'd be all right. But he's a bit stiff. He's a bit slow, so he would stay on the line a little bit more. That's the reason why I want them a little bit further back. But I prefer the 2-3-5 and us pinning you back. Like that, do you know what I mean? With Solanke pressing the hell out of Dan Burn, do you know what I'm saying? Troubling them, giving them problems, asking questions. Because as much as some of the fans don't like Solanke and say, "Oh,
I'm surprised they don't like Solanke." I really think he's a good striker.
You know what it is? Because he was 65 mil. Like a minimum of 10 goals already this season. Do you know what I mean? And when he's not producing goals in the league, they got questions. But I think he's an excellent ball carrier. He's physical. He wins a lot of the balls back high up the pitch. He's good at link play. So I think he can cause trouble where he drops in deep. He'll ask Burn, you're going to come and follow me. And if he follows him, that allows space for Kulusevski, because Kulusevski, he doesn't hold position. He kind of floats. And he wants to find where the space is. He wants to hurt you that way. So the relationship between Solanke and Kulusevski, in my opinion, is key. Do you know what I mean? And that if they play close together and Son plays a little bit more narrow, then he can also run in behind. That's where the space is. Do you know
We've had a little bit of practice that with Aston Villa when they have Morgan Rogers and Duran.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping that we're kind of a little bit more sharper to it. I know they're not exactly the same profile, but the idea is Rogers ball carrier, just like Kulusevski is. Duran's up there, kind of trying to stick it onto the centre backs. Obviously, he got some sent off. So, and it was quite tight, relatively tight when they were on the field. So, yeah, if that partnership works out with Kulu and Solanke, yeah, I can definitely see the problem there. I can see definitely see the problem there.
You know what, Kulu for me, he doesn't press too bad. It's not as fast as the other players, but he helps with the press, and Solanke helps. So if we get the press right, we're extremely dangerous, and I think Howe will be aware of that. Do you know what I mean? So that's the tactical battle we have to watch out for. Do you know what I mean? Do Spurs gamble it, risk it all, put all our chips essentially on the Russian roulette, which is maybe the house red or house, I don't know. Does he do that and think, all out attack, hopefully we get the better of them, we win those balls, they don't break through our press, first press, second press, third press, and then we managed to retain the ball high up, and we just pepper your goal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, this is essentially it. It's just like attacking phases. Do the players, can they figure it out? You know, do they know when to rotate? And I think that's my issue with the whole Ange thing, where when you're rotating players, for example, your fullbacks, their strongest positions not in the 10. Am I making sense?
Yes. So you got your what is it, square pegs and round holes. It's it's nice Porro to be in the half space, but you're not Maddison. Like, you want Maddison
You want Maddison in the half space.
Yeah.
But I do understand the concept of it. It's like you're trying to pull, supposing you've got, I don't know, Joe Linton marking Maddison, and then all of a sudden Maddison's dropped into fullback. Now Joe Linton going to follow him to fullback, because if he does, there's going to be a space where Joe Linton should be. And I think that's the logic behind it. But it's just down to whether players can find that momentum, that rhythm quick enough and pass at an intensity and speed where we can exploit that. Do you know what I mean?
It was working at St. James's Park like a lot. Like, you guys really don't. I know the goal, we won the game, but if anybody watched the game, I watched it twice, saw the metrics. It was all Spurs. I'm gonna go over to our predictions.
Yes.
I don't know if I should go first. You should go first.
2-1. 2-1 Newcastle will be an absolute disaster class. I think it's the must win for Spurs. However, I just think tactically, I just can't. I'm not confident tactically. That's what it is, going into games anymore. It sounds really negative from me, innit? Like,
no, I don't think it's a negative approach. You're just being objective. I remember you said at the beginning of our first game.
Yeah.
When I was like, sheesh, Spurs are good. Like, and you were like, nah, I think you're gonna win 2-1. I think it's for the same-ish reasons that time as well, and it panned out to be that way.
This is it. I mean, the only thing I can say is, and our home form's been poor. That's the thing. If Unai Emery
was in charge of your team, I'd be very reserved in my scoreline and what I'll be thinking about what's going to happen. Yes. That's the difference. So it's not your players, it's not anything else like that. It is down to the manager.
Same game plan. We go into each game with the same type of tactical approach. I think that's the worry, and the hopium in me hopes that they're looking at this game a little bit different, and we are adjusting. We are going to a 3-2 shape at times. We are dropping the line a bit back at times. We are only playing with one fullback high up at times, whether it be inverted or not. Do you know what I mean? Because that's been a big bugbearer for a lot of fans. I haven't got much of an issue with it, but I've got more of an issue with those spaces where that fullback has gone up.
It's a lot of space. Yeah.
Space to leave, and that's why people say Spurs are so open, for that reason. So I like, on the ball, like, we're not that great. Like, I'm not even saying like we're dynamite. We're super attacking, because the issues I have with Johnson is, in possession, he's not the greatest. The same with Son. In possession, he's not the greatest. But Son 1v1 is better than Johnson. Johnson's just good at being a goal threat, and that's it. If Johnson was good in build-up, like Kulusevski, then we'd have a total different conversation. Do you know what I mean?
So you've given it a 2-1.
Big up, Liam.
Liam knows it. Awesome, Ash. Cheers. Promise no trolling next week on Rivals. Exactly. We've got Kiwi Spurs. Big up to Kiwi Spurs. Big up Toon Tactics and my man Ashmatical. I love that. 2 goats of the game. Wow. Brilliant. Thank you for that. Man, my mind's been going in 4 different directions almost, in terms of the scoreline itself. Because exactly what kind of Spurs we've been starting off. The one thing we've been doing really well recently is starting off quick. We scored the first goal against Man United in the first 4 minutes. We played someone before that. We went 1-0 up again, and we decided, you know what? How about we start playing from the first minute? See how that works out for us. and it's worked out pretty good.
That's how I really play though. But yeah, no.
The ideals, you're gonna press up front anyway. But the ideal scenario is if we were to go a goal up, because I keep on saying what happens if Tottenham attack, they are going to attack in the first 15, 20 minutes. Can we withstand it? I haven't really considered as much, but we've been starting off really, really well. What if we go a goal up in the first minute? They're going to start doing all the things that you mentioned that you didn't like, because they're going to really throw the kitchen sink at it.
Yes.
Once you start throwing the kitchen, exactly. And the thing is, you've got no what's the word I was thinking of? And if you mentioned it, you've got
no control, no pauser, no one to calm it down.
Like how to go back, like a when you go back, when you drop a gear back, like you can't de-escalate. Like there's just one rhythm, one way.
One gear.
One gear, that's it. It's just one gear going constantly up. Was like it doesn't drop by. So it's either going to be like people said, the 3-3 type of situation.
Yeah, it's either we're going to start fast, boom, 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 boom. You're going to start fast, you know what I mean? This is going to be up and down, or it's going to be a game where like heads drop. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, here we are again. Do you know what I mean?
No reverse gear. That's the one. Thank you. No reverse gear. That's exactly what I was looking for. It's that lack of reverse gear. I did. Someone said it earlier, and I had it, but then the more I'm talking to you, I'm like, I think it's going to be a 2-1 Newcastle. I think it was the same scoreline we had 2 years ago now, when you guys were even favourites that time, and Harry Kane was playing for you guys. That wasn't an expected scoreline, and it wasn't Postecoglou that was in charge there, was it?
Probably not. It's probably could have been
No,
Mason.
it was the other one.
Well, Conte was the one before that. Well, Stellini. It was Mason Stellini, then Conte, and before Conte was Mourinho. So
okay. All right, then it's going to be 3-1. I won't say 3-1 then. 3-1. Thank you, Al, for just subscribe. My guy Newcastle win 3-1. Thank you, Al. First,
because have you ever gone on a 6-win streak before?
Yeah, we did it. We did it last season. No, in the Champions League season 2-3 in the 21-22 season. We did it a couple of times. Not like like we went like on a 4-5, then we went on a 6. Like it was insane. Like
I was just trying to find evidence of maybe it might. Because sometimes Spurs, you just don't know what you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? Force come vibes.
No, exactly. It's football. I'm just going off on foot. Like the best way I can think of it in my mind is Spurs are the best, Newcastle are the best. Like it would end up being a 4-3 either way if that was the case. Like I'll be very impressed if Newcastle would came away with a 2-0 victory. That's like, or even the other way around as well. Like it's like
no reply. 2 goals at home, no reply.
Yeah, that'll be insane. But either way,
listen, if that ever happens, oh my days! You know what's funny? I don't think he will get the sack, but that would be the nail in a coffin for me. Like 2 goals.
Do you reckon?
You have to score. You have to at least score. You have to lay a glove on your competitors. Come on, and obviously we've got Liverpool next now. Like this is a separate debate because I'm going into Spurs a bit, but there's a debate going around where you can't sack Postecoglou because technically we've got our hardest run between Newcastle, Liverpool straight after on a Wednesday in the cup, and then we've got Arsenal on Sunday straight away. So technically those are our 3 hardest games. It would be harsh to sack him after 3 games straight like that because the odds of us winning those 3 games, especially if we lose against Newcastle, the odds of us winning the next 2 are very slim. So to sack him after that and have all the injuries on top, and the people hate
and to be at the League Cup and stuff, yeah.
It'll be hard, but I'm just saying the toxicity level would be so high after being like not laying a glove on you and getting knocked out of cup. And then playing Arsenal away is too much. It's too much. We have to. It's a must-win game. Because I didn't expect us to beat you, to be fair. I thought we might draw at best. But I said, Wolves, we must win. Because I knew what was coming. And we drew. And I was like, oh, shit, we're in trouble. We're in the mud. You know what I'm saying? So, and signings won't come quick enough. Because we take long on signings. No. And our closest link is Johnston, like I said before, as a goalkeeper. When his delivery as good as Forster. So what are we doing there? Save percentage is even worse. I don't know what's going on, bro.
Crazy. Just to answer Alf, you said that you saw me on found me on Football Terrace. Big up the Football Terrace. Thank you, Alf. And do we expect any signings? I think we do. A couple project players. When they say project players, what does it mean? Someone thinks 17-year-old that's like just come out of nowhere. But I think for me, it's going to be anyone between the ages of 18 to 21. But you can get a lot of experience. Like Johan Bakayoko has been Champions League. He's won the Eredivisie. Those type of players, like you can get a lot of experience being young.
Already know.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So but for me, sales are the most important thing for that. But I won't go too deep. So yeah, for me, I said 2-1, and then I remembered it was. I don't think it was Postecoglou that was in charge at that time we played at your ground, and I think again it goes back to the mentality type of thing. I'll be annoyed if we went down a goal or whatever. I'll be like, but I kind of back ourselves more to pick ourselves up because of the confidence that we got.
Yeah.
If it goes the other way around, or you're ahead, or what happened last time, I'm a little bit worried if Postecoglou's thing is not talking to his players and stuff like that during game. If that's really a thing,
look out for it, man. Look out for it. But like I said, he started doing it against the Wolves game because that was like all the fan channels were talking about. Oh, he's just hands in the pocket. Oh, he's not really. Because that was part of the in-game management thing where people criticizing him for.
Do you remember Rio Ferdinand saying when Moyes took over that he would just leave them to it because he just thought they're champions, and they were like, "No, but we need you to like." He didn't say that to Moyes, but he was saying it in an interview. Rio Ferdinand goes, "No, like you still need to communicate. You still need to, you know, guide us on where to go, when to."
This is where like box office came in. When box office comes on my channel, sometimes he goes, "I don't rate Ange Postecoglou because he's not a coach. I need a coach."
That's what he's talking about. That's what he's talking about.
That the coaching aspect of it is not present. All you'll see from Ange Postecoglou on the sidelines is play it forward, man, get it forward. He hates people playing sideways or backwards. He thinks it's negative, isn't it? He wants attacking football. He wants to be positive with the ball. He wants us to drive forward in all aspects, be brave. That's his thing. If we're not brave, then that's not the Postecoglou way. You know what I'm saying?
Fair play to him.
Costs you possession. There's, like you said, when you can't have that, you don't have that reverse gear, and you just want to play forward, pass it forward, and he's screaming at the players.
It's too much. It's too much.
You're not going to be able to weather the storm.
Ash, I want to thank you. I know Harry Scarf left a little bit earlier as well. Thank Harry Scarf. Ash, you guys have been impeccable. When I say you guys sprinkled some stardust, you really do. Still, it's like past midnight. We've got 20 plus people up here, which is incredible. And the chat, you guys have been amazing with all your chats, with all your, messages and comments you guys have been sending in. I appreciate the subscriptions as well. Ash, thank you. And I was only, by the way, everyone in chat, I was only meant to have Ash for an hour, and he's given even more than that. Really, really appreciate you for that. Same with Harry as well, like giving so much of their time. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and make sure you guys have a great evening. You guys should be at work tomorrow. So should I. So make sure you get yourselves up early. And folks, as always, you'll see me back on Tuesday. As always, Tuesday, 10 p.m. And until next time, guys, take care of yourselves and God bless.
Before you go as well, I've got Rivals coming up on Wednesday.
Ooh.
So make sure you tune in for that. We'll be hosting. You tune in for that, and it's going to be a reaction. We're going to be reacting to Tottenham Liverpool. So yeah, look out for that, guys. But every time, love having me on, bro.
I appreciate you, sir. Guys, take care of yourselves and see you next time, folks. God bless.